Yesterday's opening ceremony transformed the Indianapolis Motor Speedway into a magical kingdom filled with colorful spectacles. The Cuban team is here after boycotting the '84 Olympics in Los Angeles. And for the Americans, baseball star Jim Abbott carried the flag, while David Robinson stood out above his 742 teammates. And in a link to our Pan Am basketball past, Oscar Robertson brought the torch into the speedway and passed it to gymnast Christy Phillips. Then it was Wilma Rudolph who did the honors. And a record 38 nations were set to begin competition. The games began at 7 o'clock this morning. 27 marathoners took off from Fort Benjamin Harrison on their 26-mile jaunt. 2 hours later, Norman Bellingham of Rockville, Maryland, was kayaking his way to the first gold medal of these Pan American Games. At 9:20, Brazil's Ivo Rodrigues became the first marathoner across the finish line. The U.S. captured fourth. And Mexico's Mary Carmen Cardenas won the women's gold medal. She was followed by Deborah Warner of Gilmer, Texas, who added a silver for the United States. And so we are underway in Indianapolis. The city of Indianapolis from a glimpse-eye view. Nearby, the combined campus of Indiana University and Purdue University at Indianapolis, where many of the key venues are located. There you see the natatorium where the swimming and diving competitions will be held. That's a block away from the Indiana University track where the Pan American torch will burn through these next 15 days of competition. Right nearby is our CBS Sports broadcast complex. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome. I'm Brent Musburger. This is our CBS Sports continuing coverage of the 10th Pan American Games, and today the quest for gold begins in 30 different sports. And for the host United States, which has high hopes here in Indianapolis, this is the first test in international competition this year. We're going to get a chance to see the Americans in action in several different sports, so let's check in around the city. We'll start with John Dockery at the baseball venue, Busch Stadium.
Welcome to Busch Stadium, site of the baseball competition in this year's Pan American Games. Today's opening game pits the United States against Canada, the United States in its quest for its first gold in 20 years. Hello, everybody. I'm John Dockery, and joining me today, Mark Marquis, the head coach at Stanford, the 1987 NCAA baseball champion, and the United States Olympic coach next year. And, Coach, what about the chances for the gold for the U.S.?
John, the Cubans are the strong favorites, but the United States has a definite chance for an upset because of their strong pitching and their aggressive style of play.
Today it's Canada. What about that game?
Canadians will be tough in the United States. They beat them 3 out of 5 last week, and they have a tough left-hander going today against the United States.
Okay, now it's time to go to Vern Lundquist at basketball.
This is Market Square Arena, site of the basketball competition at the Pan Am Games for the next 2 weeks, and it is here that 9 teams will try to fight the dominance that's been established by the American squad for the past quarter of a century. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Vern Lundquist, along with Indiana Packer. Bill, this really is a very, very strong and talented American team.
It is, Vern. A lot of people talked about that great Olympic team of '84. I'm not so sure in '88 we won't be just as good. And this is the club that'll be the nucleus of next year's Olympic team. Very talented, very big, and a very unselfish ball club.
It's a team that spotlights 2 consensus All-Americans in Danny Manning and David Robinson.
Both are excellent ball players. They have the size, the quickness. They know how to play the game. Great shot blockers. They should be our leaders.
Basketball starts here in 90 minutes, the U.S. versus Panama. Right now, let's go to Jim Nance and diving.
Thank you, Vern, and welcome everybody to the Indiana University Natatorium, where we're just a few minutes away from the start of the women's springboard competition. In fact, the divers are making their entrance right now. I'm delighted to be joined by a pair of former gold medal winners, John Neighbor and Phil Boggs. And Phil, in our first competition, the women's springboard, this promises to be another in the long series of great battles between Megan Nyer and Kelly McCormick of the United States.
Jim, for over a decade, Megan and Kelly have competed against each other and pushed each other to new heights. They're rivals as individuals. They're also on rival teams. And of the 20 national titles they have between them, usually one has come at the expense of the other.
All right, in swimming, we had 5 finals today. Now, there's a little controversy pertaining to the U.S. team that is here. At the U.S. Outdoors, the top qualifiers qualified for Australia and the Pan-Pacific Games. So some folks here have put the burden of calling this team the B squad, John Nader.
Well, you know, Jim, although it's true that the winners went on to the Pan-Pacifics, they didn't win by much. And as a result, the team here at the Pan Ams, their times are competitive. They want to set the best times by an American squad this season. And in fact, they have a very good chance at winning some, say, 26 out of the 32 swimming events here at the Pan Ams. And that's a pretty healthy haul.
All right, swimming will be later in the afternoon. We are just a few minutes away from the start of the women's springboard. Right now, let's take you across the street for track and field. And here's our Dick Stockton.
All right, we have a windy afternoon on the fast track here at Indiana University of Stadium for the first day of track and field competition, and we're going to see some exciting competition in 2 of the classic distances, the 100-meter sprints and the 1,500 meters as well. And working with me, Mary Decker-Slaney as well as Craig Masbach. As far as the 100 meters, men and women are concerned, particularly in the men, the United States hasn't had much success in recent years, Craig.
We know we're used to seeing Americans on the top of the victory stand in the Olympics in the 100 meters, but we haven't won this event since 1959 in the Pan American Games, and this year it's going to be tough as well. Americans Lee McRae and Mark Witherspoon have a lot of work to do against the Cubans, including Leandro Penalver and Raymond Stewart of Jamaica. He's that rare combination of a fast start and a good finish. Gail Devers and Diane Williams look good on the women's side, however.
And what we've seen, the Cubans really have come to run. Mary Decker-Slaney, an expert who could talk about the 1,500 meters, men and women, and as far as the men are concerned, they've had better success in this event than in the sprint.
They have, Dick. Today included in the competition for the men's 1,500 will be Steve Scott from the U.S., Jim Spivey from the U.S., but also Joaquin Cruz from Brazil, who is an Olympic champion. And at this point, they are all running extremely well for the season, and they're all gearing up for this month, which is a big month in track and field. So today's competition will be interesting.
All right, Mary, and so the United States getting in position to withstand the challenges of Cuba, Panama, and Jamaica. Right now, let's go back to the CBS Broadcast Center in Brent Musburger.
All right, Dick, and also today we're going to take a look at how Indianapolis put these games together on such short notice. We'll take an inside look at Cuba. Last month I had an opportunity to visit that island nation, which will host these games in 1991. Now, we've also got some soccer action for you later. The United States will take on Trinidad and Tobago, and throughout the day our roving reporters, Pat O'Brien, James Brown, and Ann Butler, will cover breaking stories and sample some of the Hoosier hospitality. Already we have had our first Pan Am record. It was over at the natatorium in swimming, and it was Sylvia Pohl of Costa Rica in a 100-meter prelim freestyle. She turned the corner and came back in at 52.06, that a Pan Am record. So we'll keep you up to date on all the latest scores, highlights, and medal awards. 5 full hours of international competition are ahead. We'll start with baseball, the United States against Canada, and we'll pick up that action when the 10th Pan American Games continue live from Indianapolis here on CBS.
CBS Sports coverage of the 10th Pan American Games is sponsored.
After the baseball venue, let me correct Sylvia Pohl's time. I was a little too hasty. I almost gave her a world record, 56.10, the 100-meter freestyle prelim, and that, of course, a Pan American record. So the baseball venue is underway. How good is this young American team? We're about to find out. Weather in Indianapolis this afternoon could become a factor at all the various venues. We heard Dick Stockton mention that there was wind out there on the track. You can see the humidity, 87%, and we have a 20% chance of rain. However, as I recall, we had about a 30% chance of rain yesterday, and certainly that held off for the opening ceremonies. So let's pick up the action, and the Canadians are at bat, and let's go to John Dockery. John?
Leading 1-0. We're at Busch Stadium, normally the home of the AAA affiliate of the Montreal Expos for the next 2 weeks, site of the Pan Am Games. It's the United States versus Canada. As I said, we're in the top of the second inning. The visitors, Canada, lead 1-0. Let me just quickly tell you what happened. Mark Griffin doubled down the left field line. Greg Roth, a base hit, put Canada ahead 1-0, and then you saw that base hit to right field. So it's first and third, and Greg Olson, the ace pitcher on this year's United States squad, having his problems early. And joining me today, Mark Marquis, head coach of the 1987 NCAA baseball champion Stanford University and the United States Olympic coach in Seoul next year. And Mark, Greg Olson told us yesterday that The biggest problem he had on the mound was shaky early innings. He's having his problems here.
He is. They're sitting on his fastball a little bit. His curveball's good, but they've been really tattooing his fastball.
Now the catcher, Wally Horseman, number 40, is the hitter right now for the Canadian team.
United States in a tough position here, first and third, one out. They got a chance. Canadians have a chance to score again here, looking for a double play ball.
Mark Olson, 6'4", 210 pounds, from Auburn, a sophomore. Having his problems early. And of course, the United States is favored behind Cuba in these Pan American Games. There are 8 teams. They play a round robin. The teams with the best 4 records will go to the medal rounds. And Greg Olson, of course, hoping to get the United States off to a good start here, having his problems early.
Having trouble finding the plate right now, John.
3 balls, no strikes. We have 1 out. We're in the top of the second inning. The United States trails Canada by a score of 1-0. There's Ron Frazier, the coach of the United States team from the University of Miami. Here's the pitch. Inside corner, strike 1. 3-1 the count. Greg Olson on the mound.
Ron's got to be concerned. He's got to be concerned right now. Tough situation. Get his pitcher with his feet on himself. Get his control back.
And Mark Marquis, he's relying on dominant pitching like Greg Olson to get him through this tournament in the hopes of winning a goal for the first time in 20 years. The runner goes. It's ball 4. So the bases are loaded.
Yes, Greg needs to settle down a little bit here. He's all right. He's got good stuff, especially the curveball, but he's got to get his fastball down in the zone.
And they're going to have a chat with Olson to try to settle him down on the mound. His problems have in the past, as we've said, come early when he's been jittery and hasn't been able to find his rhythm or his momentum. Frazier out to the mound now. Of course, he has a great bullpen and some terrific talent out of the bullpen. The United States relying on pitching and team speed in this Pan American Games versus other Pan Am teams which didn't rely on that.
Exactly, John. I think Ron, Coach Frazier is going to stay with Greg. He's his ace, and he's going to stay with him a little bit longer. Hopefully, find a groove. There's nobody warming up in the bullpen, so Greg's going to be out there for a little bit longer. And I think he's got good stuff. He'll be all right.
Well, he's in a tough position right now. His team trails 1-0. There's only 1 out. Bases are loaded. And Rick Johnson, the left fielder, perhaps the best hitter on the Canadian team, is at the plate.
He will be tougher to double up on the double play here.
High, ball 1. Of course, Ricky Johnson, as you mentioned, great speed, good defensive player. Against the United States in their series last week, that 5-game series, that the United States only won 2 games out of 5. Johnson was a .333 hitter.
Probably be taking a pitch right here, John.
A lot of pressure on young Greg Olson, the sophomore out of Auburn.
Middle of the infield, shortstop, second base, double play depth. First baseman's back. They're going to give him a run here.
Ball 3.
John, Clyde Keller from Sacramento City College is warming up in the bullpen, right-hander for the United States.
There's Clyde Keller in the bullpen. Strike 1, 3-1, and you would think that Greg Olson would be used to these kinds of situations because he was mostly a relief pitcher at Auburn.
Oh yes, he's been in this situation before. That's not the problem. He just needs to find his rhythm a little bit. Big pitch right here, obviously.
3 balls, 1 strike, bases loaded. Ball 4, walked a runner in.
There's that fastball up, John. He can't get it down right now.
And if you are Coach Ron Frazier and you are in the first game of the Pan American Games, you are one of the favorites, and your ace is on the mound struggling. You're down 2-0 in the top of the second inning. Do you leave him in or do you take him out?
Well, it's tough because he knows he's capable of throwing a great game, but you can't stay with him too long here. Big hit here breaks it open.
Here's a Canadian lineup. Johnson leads off. Maudie, Deuce, Curran, Kotkis, Griffin, Ross, Harvey, and Horsman. Alan Moth, the hitter now, number 15, the shortstop. Bats lefty, throws righty.
The Canadian coaching staff indicated that Moth is a tough guy to strike out, good contact hitter, so they're probably going to put the ball in play here. Hopefully, for the United States, they're looking for a ground ball double play.
Here's a defense for the United States. Service, the catcher, Olson on the mound. Martinez at first base. Griffin at second base. Silvestri, the shortstop. Livingstone, the third baseman. It's Wood, Lamphere, and Hertensteiner in the outfield. Ball one.
Moss not a real good runner, so if he hits it on the ground, the United States has an outstanding chance to turn 2 here.
Mark, let me ask you a question. We both know that 2 weeks ago in Havana, Olson hurt his thumb catching a Frisbee. 1-1. Could that be part of the problem here? His thumb was in a cast for a week and only came off Wednesday when he pitched against Canada and pitched well, but could that be causing him a problem here?
Well, I think it could. Yeah, the other day at practice, Greg said that the thumb injury affected his control of his fastball, and that may be what's happening right now. Got a break there. Moth chased a high fastball to the strike zone.
1 ball, 1 strike, 1 out, top of the second inning. Canadian leads the United States 2-0. Great effort by Silvestri after a long run. Can't pull it in.
In a way, John's lucky he didn't catch that. They would have scored another run there. Hopefully he can get a strikeout here or a double play ball to get out of the inning. But that was a great effort by Silvestri. Great effort. Watch this here.
Silvestri on a long run. Look, he tries to back.
That was a fantastic effort. Running towards the wall. Tough play. Almost made a great play. But like I said, it's probably better they didn't catch it. They would have scored another run.
Greg Olson needs this out. Silvestri shaking his head at shortstop. Made a great effort. Couldn't get to the ball, as you said, probably better off.
Here comes a good, the wicked curveball, or try to get him to chase a fastball up.
1 ball, 2 strikes, 1 out. Greg Olson on the mound, the ace for the United States team. The pitch.
Ooh, almost got him to chase that ball, John. Almost went after it.
You know, Mark, the rules are a little bit different here in the Pan American Games International Amateur Baseball. Basically, the differences?
Well, the big difference is you can use the aluminum bat here in international baseball, and they have the mercy rule, where the team is ahead by more than 10 runs after 7, the game's over. Good pitch. Other than that, the rules are all the same. Major League Baseball rules.
And a big pitch right there for Greg Olson, the strikeout. 2 outs.
Moth,
bases loaded.
You don't strike Moth out very often. That was a big out for Greg.
Problem now, though, number 14, the first baseman, Greg Deuce, coming up. The 8 teams in the Pan American Baseball: Aruba, Canada, Cuba, Netherlands, Antilles, Nicaragua, Puerto Rico, USA, and Venezuela. They'll play a round robin. The teams with the best 4 records go on to the medal rounds. Here's the pitch by Olson. Ball 1.
John, this is a tough spot. Deuce, their best hitter. Canadians' best hitter.
And in that 5-game series last week against the United States, he hit .316. He was 6 of 19 with 1 home run.
There's his good fastball. Good fastball. Throwing a little bit harder now, John. Picking up the velocity.
Well, certainly the United States team does not have the power to come back from a big deficit. They're down 2-0 here at top of the second inning. So they'd really like to get out of this situation. Olson working against Deuce.
There's that great curveball.
How did the coaches describe it when they talked about Greg Olson? When he's on, when he's throwing well, his curveball is
unhittable.
Unhittable.
That's a tough pitch right there. But Deuce is a great hitter, and he's their RB. This is a guy they want up there. He's the RBI man.
Decent power.
Ooh, great job by Service.
Great stop.
Saved a run. Outstanding job right there by Scott.
Scott Service.
Here he is.
Watch him block that ball.
Watch him front up. Yep, just barely got it. Didn't have a chance to front up really, but he got his got a right shoulder right in front of it and made a great play. Saved a run.
19-year-old Scott Service, junior at Texas A&M, saves the United States a run. Greg Olson tried to put a little too much on that curve.
That won't show in the box score, but I'll tell you, that's a big play. Big play.
2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs, top of the second inning. Takes it to a full count. Pressure's on Greg Olson.
He'll be moving here. 2 outs, 3-2 count. Base hit. May score 3, John. May score 3, especially if it's in the gap a little bit.
So it's the United States' best pitcher, Greg Olson, against Canada's best hitter, Greg Deuce. 3-2. 2 out. Ground ball.
Great
Griffin,
pitch.
first base, out of the inning. So going into the bottom of the second inning, the Canadians lead the United States 2-0. Hello, everybody. I'm John Dockery, along with Mark Marcus, coach of Stanford, this year's NCAA baseball champions. And a little bit of a shaky start for Greg Olson, and the Americans are down 2-0 as we're in the second inning.
They got to get their bats going. They got to prove that they can hit that left-handed pitching, and we'll see what they can do.
Left-handed pitching, folks, has been the problem for the United States team. They have a lefty lineup. They've had their problems, and this man on the mound, Réal Cormier, number 38, the lefty for Canada, has given the United States trouble in the past, and this afternoon he's giving them trouble. He's only given up one hit. As I said, the United States trails 2-0, bottom of the second inning. The lineup for the United States: Ty Griffin leads off, Dave Silvestri, Martinez, Fiore, Service, Wood, Lamphere, Livingstone, and Hertensteiner.
Fiore's been their hottest hitter lately, John, and he needs to get him going here with a base hitter, get on base some way.
He is a designated hitter, Mike Fiore, 21 years old, from Coral Gables, Florida, and the University of Miami. The pitch, a big curveball, 1-1. Defensively, Griffin, Johnson, Maudie, Ross, Cormier on the mound, Horseman behind the plate, Deuce at first base, Harvey at second base, the outfield, Johnson, Griffin, and Kokis. The pitch, fouled off. You know, Mark, I think we should talk for a moment about the format of this competition. Of course, Cuba is the favorite. They've won 7 of 9 gold medals at the Pan American Games. There are 8 teams. And why don't you explain exactly how the competition works?
Well, you play each team one game, so you play a total of 7. At the end of that, the top 4 teams will go into the medal round. 1 plays 4, 2 plays 3.
The pitch low.
Then the winners play for the gold. Losers gets the silver, and the teams that lost the first day play for the bronze.
And it's interesting as we look at Cormier on the mound that Canada, coming into this competition, was hoping to really just get to a medal round. They're not thinking gold, they're not thinking silver, but they're really just thinking about getting to the medal round.
Well, they don't want to get too high, and if they lose to the United States, get all down. The United States is favored. They need to beat the other teams that they're supposed to beat. Fiore's battling well here. Fouled off a 2-strike pitch.
The count is 3-2, no outs. Bottom of the second inning. The United States trails Canada by a score of 2-0. Say, Alan Moth, the shortstop throws low. Greg Deuce
came off the bag on that, John. Came off. Fiore's got a bad leg. Stress fracture, so he couldn't get down the line. Here we go. Top ball. Shortstop makes a good play on this, really. Coming across. Just pulls him off. Almost got the tag. Here he comes. Great play there. Ball got away from him a little bit. Pulled the first baseman up the line. Almost got the tag. He didn't get him, though.
It also seemed that Moth, the ball got caught in his glove a little bit. He wasn't able to get it out.
Gave him an error on that. That's a tough error. That is a tough error. Cormier throws a 3-2 breaking pitch here. That shows me a little something. Uh-oh. Double play ball.
Double play ball. Harvey to Moth. Over to Deuce. Double play.
Perfect double play ball. Perfect. Nice, easy hop. Right close to the bag. Unfortunate. Hit pretty good, but right at him.
In the recent series where the Canadians beat the Americans 3-2, they played up to their potential. They played good defense, and they got good pitching, and that's what Ron Frazier was concerned about.
No, he's not happy now. But at least they're swinging the bat pretty well, I think. They're go up there. The United States is taking good hacks, and
you know, this series, the Pan American series, of course, has Olympic implications. The top 3 teams will go to the Olympics. Cuba, as a world champion, already guaranteed a spot in that competition. And you, my friend, have a vested interest, Mark Marquis, coach of Stanford, in the Olympic implications of the Pan Am Games.
You got that right. If they don't finish in top 3, my job is not there. Here's Ted Wood. I'll tell you, he's a great-looking hitter. Leads the team in RBIs with 23 and 6 home runs, and he can run. He's just a great player.
1 ball, 1 strike, Cormier. The delivery, 2 strikes.
Dropping
Ted
that
Wood.
breaking ball in there, John. Gets those left-handers.
And he's a sophomore at the University of New Orleans, and what a year he had there. Hit .393 with 20 home runs. An outstanding player on the tour, on the 36-game tour, .391 hitter. So this is a goes with the pitch. The left fielder, Ricky Johnson.
Nice catch. Nice running catch by the left fielder.
So at the end of 2 innings, the United States trails Canada by a score of 2-0. We'll be back.
All right, let me update you on a couple of other stories right now. The women's 3-meter springboard competition is underway already. There will be 10 dives, and we're going to take you out for the conclusion. But as you can see right now, the United States is doing spectacularly well. Megan Nair in first and Kelly McCormick in third. As expected, they should be the contenders for the gold medal. But Deborah Fuller of Canada is right there in second place. Now, in cycling, the women's road race finals is concluded. 57 kilometers. Rebecca Twigg of the United States has won a gold medal, and Inga Benedict captured the silver for the United States. So we have another gold and a silver. That is 2 gold medals for the United States right now. And from high above Busch Stadium here in Indianapolis, from the Goodyear blimp. And our pilot today is Larry Chambers from Spring, Texas. So let's take you back where the young United States team has its hands full right now with the Canadians. John Dockery.
Brent, they definitely do have their hands full with the Canadians. They're trailing 2-0, top of the 3rd inning. Randy Curran, the hitter, against Greg Olson for the United States on the mound.
John, this Randy Curran, he's got more power than anybody on the field, but he's a young, aggressive hitter. He has a tendency to chase a little bit, but if he hits it, there's no ballpark that'll hold it.
He struck out looking.
Great curveball last inning.
Three balls, 2 strikes, nobody out. Top of the 3rd inning. Greg Olson having his problems, and so strong, Greg Olson, for pitching appearances. Tops in ERA for Auburn. 11 wins. Such an outstanding year. Having his problems here early for the United States.
All right, chase that high pitch. Good hitter.
Hard one.
A young one who chases those bad pitches.
And you know, when you look at Olson and you talk to the scouts, they just glow with superlatives. A man who has a fastball over 90 miles an hour. They talk about him being in the big leagues in a year or two. Can't miss prospect.
Well, John, he's got everything. He's got the size that they like, and he throws hard, and he has got a wicked curveball. So he's got all the tools that they're looking for.
All right, James Kokis up now, right fielder.
Yeah. A little more velocity on the fastball now. One thing you should notice that some people maybe have noticed that he's in the stretch and there's no one on base. He was a reliever at Auburn, and he decided, why change? I've done this all year, so I'll stay with it. I think it's a good idea.
Greg Olson. And at Auburn, what a year he had. 96 strikeouts in 78 innings. A power pitcher, but he also can use finesse and change speeds. He really does have a full repertoire of pitches.
He's got them all. Yeah, good location. Good location with the fastball. You're not going to hit that pitch.
And you get a sense that Greg Olson is settling down. When we talked to him at practice the other day, he said the one thing that concerned him most was jitters early. He had those jitters early. He trails 2-0. He's given up 4 hits, and now he's settling down. I spoke too soon. Right center, going to the wall. Kokis in with a double.
John, he just hung that curveball. Just hung it up there, said hit me, and he did. Jim, here we go. Watch it. Hangs it right up there. Boom. Good job by Kokis going with the pitch, not trying to pull it. But he hit that hard. Just a poor hanging breaking ball.
And you have to wonder if his thumb is bothering him. He said no. We talked to Ron Frazier on the field before the game, shrugged his shoulders when we said, well, what about that right thumb? Hurt in the Frisbee accident in Cuba 2 weeks ago, in a cast up until last week.
There you go. Yeah.
There's the curve again. High.
Maybe bothering him now, John. That got away from him, and but he's thrown some good pitches. I think that's the thing that makes it tough for Coach Frazier. He's looked good at times, but then he's made a couple bad pitches, and to Canada's credit, they've jumped on it.
1 out. Top of the 3rd inning. Ball gets by service. You get the sense, though, Mark, as you watch the U.S. team, that they're sloppy. Olson isn't sharp. That ball gets by the catcher.
That ball should have been caught. Unless they got crossed up. Runner on second base could have got crossed up with a sign, but normally that ball should be caught. Here's Coach Frazier. I think he's going to play the infield in here. He has to. He hasn't been scoring a lot of runs, and one out. They got to play the infield in. Here we go. Let's watch it. Just missed it. Just closed that glove a little bit too soon. That's unfortunate, but that ball's got to be caught. I don't think he was crossed up. It didn't act like he was crossed up on the pitch.
Mark Griffin, the center fielder. Young Mark Griffin, 18 years old.
This is a young man that Coach Har, from the Canadian coach, felt was the best young baseball player in Canada. And that's quite something for him to say. But he's really high in this young man, and we can see why. He can do it all.
And you remember the first time up, Griffin went down the left field line, went with the fastball.
There's Coach Har.
Yeah, he's very high on Griffin. There's John Har, the coach of the Canadian team. Went the other way again, and that'll score a run deep.
Nice catch. Nice catch.
Nice catch by Larry Lamphere. The runner scores.
Good job of hitting by Griffin. Going with the pitch like he did last time up. Hit it hard.
Goes here.
Here's Mark. Best hitter in Canada. Watch this swing. Good swing. Good swing. Went with that pitch very well. Ball's away from him. Outstanding job. Big RBI.
And John Har said if of all the players on the Canadian team that he may be the one we see in the pros in 2 or 3 years. Okay, Greg Roth, the third baseman, is a hitter now. Canadians lead 3-0, top of the third inning. 1 ball, no strikes, 2 out. Greg Olson on the mound.
Coach Hart indicated this Greg Roth is just a good, solid player for him. He's really pleased with him, and a line drive type hitter. Doesn't have a lot of power, but kind of guy you like to have on your team. Not going to make many mistakes. Good, solid ball player.
Do you think that Olson is making a mistake not coming with more fastballs? Remember when we talked to him, he said to us, I know the Canadians are not an overly powerful team, but they are good hitters. They stand in there on the fastball, so I'm going to try to change up and use my curveball.
They're a spunky little team. I'll tell you, they go after, they go up, and they know what that bat's for. I'm very impressed with the way they swing the bat, and that's what the United States coaches were telling us the other day when we met with them, that they're an aggressive team, swing the bat, put the ball in play, and that's what they're doing today.
Pulls it foul. So the count's 3-2, 2 out. Top of the third inning. Canada leads the United States 3-0.
Greg Olson just hasn't been consistent enough with his pitches. He's throw a good fastball, one batter, and then he'll seem to lose a little velocity. Same with the breaking ball. One sharp breaking curve, one pitch, then next he hangs it. Just not quite in the rhythm yet.
Fouled back. And what an athlete Greg Olson was at Northwest High School in Omaha, Nebraska. 27-0 as a pitcher, heavily recruited as a football player, but chose the diamond instead, and has a bright future, having trouble here today at Busch Stadium. Pan American Games opening game, Canada against the United States. 4 no-hitters in high school.
Good.
The pitch on the outside did not get the call. So the runner goes down to first base.
I think it was a good call. Close, but that was a ball.
Greg Roth goes down to first. Brad Harvey now the hitter. Number 17, the second baseman.
I think he may get him here, John. I think Coach Frazier's coming out. I think he may get him.
Here he comes. He's waving to the bullpen. He's got Keller and Slazarski warming up.
Keller's coming in. Clyde Keller
from Sacramento, California, 20 years old, will replace Greg Olson on the mound as the United States is struggling here in their opening game against Canada. They trail 3-0. Back to Busch Stadium, site of the baseball competition in this year's Pan American Games. The United States against Canada in the opening game. Clyde Keller on the mound, right-handed pitcher for the United States, replacing Greg Olson. And what about Keller, Mark Marquis?
Clyde's not big in stature, but he throws a surprisingly quick fastball, about 85 miles an hour. He throws a palm ball, change, and a fastball. No curve. Good palm ball.
Sophomore at Sacramento City College in California. Brad Harvey, the hitter. The U.S. trails Canada 3-0. 2 out. Bottom of the third inning. Top of the third inning, excuse me, top of the third inning.
Roth at first base, John, has pretty good speed. He's a possible steal, especially with 2 outs, try to get a running and scoring position. Time to take a chance for Canada, I would say here.
But certainly that's not Canada's style. They just wait, stand in there, and try and hit.
But if they're going to do it, now's the time. Good location with that fastball right on his hands.
Makes the play. And going into the bottom of the third inning, the U.S. trails Canada 3-0. We'll be back after this message from our local stations.
We are now through 2 rounds of the women's 3-meter springboard, and Kelly McCormick has moved up into 2nd place. She was in 3rd after the first dive. Now she has moved into contention with Megan Nair for the gold medal. And let's go. Kelly McCormick is out there right now, and here's Jim Nance.
That's great.
Probably after the required dives or whatever. So here are the standings through 2 dives, and we are looking now at Kelly McCormick, who has scored 8.5s and 9s on her first 2 dives. Phil Boggs, and off to a terrific start here.
They were great dives, both of them, Jim. She is confident, strong, looks good diving. We've got up this time a reverse dive in the pike position. Remember, these first 5 rounds of dives are easy dives. They're demonstrating their basic skills.
Very poised and relaxed to this point. She has really hit those first 2 as we...
She's looking over right now at the referee for a whistle. Once they announce the dive, the referee blows a whistle indicating the diver can start. The diver can't start before that whistle.
How much concentration does she lose here?
It's a break, but you turn around and focus again. Sometimes it's relaxing. Another great dive, John. Just a little bit past vertical, but what a jump off the diving board.
Kelly McCormick, at age 25, an Olympian, silver medalist in '84. And 8.5s and 8s for Kelly McCormick.
Remember, in diving, anything better than a 7 is good. Watch her jump off the diving board. Way up in the air, touches, and just a little bit over rotation at the bottom, but a great dive.
Let's take it back now to our broadcast center, and here's Brent Musburger.
All right, Jim, thank you, and we'll keep everybody up to date on that story as it unfolds. Already, as these Pan American Games are underway, the United States has picked up 6 gold medals, and Cuba, which is expected to contend for the medal championship, has won 1. The young United States baseball team finding a lot of difficulty on its hands against the Canadians out at Busch Stadium. So let's take you back to that action now. John Dockery.
And Brent, I might say unexpected difficulty. The United States was favored coming into this game, but at the bottom of the 3rd inning, Canada leads 3-0. The United States at-bat, Rael Cormier on the mound for Canada. The lefty has baffled the U.S. hitters, has only given up 1 hit in the bottom of the 3rd inning.
He's done an outstanding job, John, mixing up his pitches, fastball, curve, keeping all his stuff down. Done a good job.
1 out, Scott Livingstone, the hitter. And the Canadians have struggled somewhat recently. They were in Cuba. They lost 3 out of 5 to Cuba. They played Canada a week ago. They lost 3 out of 5 there, so they haven't been up to par lately.
Well, I think the key thing here, John, is the fact that they've lost 8 games all summer, and 6 of those 8 have been to left-handed pitching. They've got to hit the left-hander. That's what the problem right now. They haven't proven that they can hit that left-handed pitching.
Well, they have a mostly left-handed hitting lineup as you look at number 9, Rick Hertensteiner, coming to the plate. 19 years old from Ventura, California, sophomore at Pepperdine. And it's 1 out, bottom of the 3rd inning, time to get something going.
He's got surprising power. He'll hit the ball a long ways. Give him his pitch. He's hit 4 home runs this summer for the United States.
And at Pepperdine, he was a .324 hitter and hit 13 home runs. So yes, he does have some power.
Great outfielder. Got the best arm of the outfielders for the United States. I think he's taking a pitch here. They need base runners, and he's walked one batter. I think he'll take one. I think Coach Frazier will have him taking one. Oh, nope.
Second baseman makes the plays. 2 outs.
Lucky there. We're lucky. That could have been a double play again. Just didn't hit it that hard.
But the United States, I was just about to say, Mark, as we look at number 14, Ty Griffin coming to the plate. He's the leadoff hitter, plays second base. And that's number, is that if the United States, the style of play that Ron Frazier, the coach of Miami, has put together, tough for them to come back because they are not a power hitting team.
They're really not. They've got to create runs. They got to run, put a lot of pressure on people. And this left-hander presents a problem for them because they can't steal as much because he's got a great move to first base. They're going to have to do it with the bat.
Ty Griffin at the plate.
A lot of the U.S. coaches, John, and talking to them today, they think as far as the position players, Ty may be the best pro prospect on the team. He can do it all. He can hit, he can run, he can bunt, he can play second base, has power. They really like him.
And Ty Griffin, sophomore at Georgia Tech, was a defensive back in high school. He has to be a good athlete.
He's got to be. You know that, John, right? Just happened we played, though. That's all.
And Ty Griffin, a man with terrific speed, stole 50 bases in 54 attempts in college this year at Georgia Tech. So a man who can do it all. 7 of 21, you look at him against Canada. So he hit well against Canada.
He did. I think why he didn't have Hertensteiner take today, Coach Frazier, he wants him, I think, to be aggressive. He doesn't want him to take a lot of pitches, I guess. And that's a good ploy also. Sometimes when you start taking pitches, you get real defensive with the bat, and he probably doesn't want that right now. Need a hit here. Need a hit.
Real Cormier on the mound for Canada has only given up 1 hit. The United States trails Canada 3-0. 2 balls, no strikes, 2 out. We're in the bottom of the 3rd inning. Strike 1. Fans didn't like it.
I didn't like that one either. I didn't think that was a strike, but they do miss a few. They do. They don't admit it, but they do miss a few.
You know, we're not doing that well today. We're down 3-0. Of course, we got a long way to go. But if we do not win a game we're supposed to win against Canada, how will that affect us as we face the Cubas and some of the other good teams and look for a medal?
Well, it certainly won't help, but we've got enough pitching to come back. It's not going to kill us. But I'll tell you this, I hope there are not a lot more left-handers around.
Problems, you mentioned it. They've lost 8 games. 6 of those games, the United States team has lost to left-handers. Fouled off. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs.
That's a good pitch there. Fought that ball off. Just got a piece of it. Good pitch by Cormier.
It was interesting coming out of high school. The pros thought so much of Ty Griffin that, as you see, Baltimore picked him in 1985. And the scouts talk about him down the road. He will be a pro prospect.
No, most definitely. Most definitely. He's a good one. Switch hitter. I like that.
It's interesting that he can be so good as a switch hitter. He's batting righty now, but he switched only last year as a freshman.
That is amazing. It really is.
He's a natural right-handed hitter. Ball 3. But it's interesting he got more hits. He's a natural right-handed hitter, but he got more hits from the left side.
Well, I think that's because you don't hit right-handed that much in college. You see mostly right-handed pitching, so that's not that surprising. And you don't probably take as much batting practice right-handed.
And also that step down the first baseline, you're obviously closer. He has tremendous speed, so that has to get him a few base hits.
Bounces a couple times, he's going to be there.
Goes with the pitch.
Great job of hitting.
Brad Harvey pulls it in. So at the end of the 3rd inning, the United States trails Canada 3-0. We'll be back.
Hockey venue is also underway this morning, and we have our first final from there. And the United States has turned in a win over Bermuda, 3-0. Now, the baseball team trailing the Canadians by the same score of 3-0. We'll keep you up to date with that story. But we have 2 women's springboard divers, Megan Nair and Kelly McCormick, battling for the gold medal at the natatorium. Let's go out live now to Jim Nantz for an update. Jim?
All right, thank you very much, Brent. We are in the middle of the 4th round of diving here, and as expected, the Americans are 1-2. Megan Nair leading. Kelly McCormick is second. This beautiful complex here, really the state-of-the-art aquatic sports facility in the United States, and we have Debbie Fuller right now on the 3-meter springboard. She's currently 3rd right now, and we're in the 4th round. She's from Canada and has competed internationally for a long time. We'll be attending Ohio State University this fall.
And this is a back dive, Jim. Back dive in a pike position.
And for this dive, we'll do a replay or something, and I'll show you the standings.
Another good dive by Debbie. No surprises here. First 3 are as expected right now.
Debbie Fuller. Her sister will be competing here in the platform later in the week. Her scores 7.5s and 7s. They'll throw out the 8 from the American judge. Good round.
See the divers
Debbie
go
Fuller.
over and talk to the coaches in between dives. Get a little pointers what happened, what they need to do.
So let's get everyone up on the standings now. This was through 3 rounds. Megan Dyer leading, Kelly McCormick second. We just saw Debbie Fuller third coming into this round. Now this is McCormick.
This is an inward 1 1/2 somersaults in a pike position. She'll somersault towards the diving board. McCormick and Nair have been playing Can You Top This? And that was great. Nair got 9s for her round. You could see some more here for McCormick. Another great dive.
Let's explain that in the first 5 dives, Phil, there are some requirements on the part of the divers.
What the divers do in 5 rounds, look at those scores, some 8s and some 9s, is they demonstrate their basic skills. They go each of the 5 directions you can go off of a diving board. And see Kelly getting some coaching there. This is an inward somersaulting towards a board. Watch the entry straight in, the last thing the judges see.
That dive by McCormick, good enough to put her in the first place now, ahead of Megan Dyer through 4 rounds here at the Pan Am Games. And we'll return in just a moment. Welcome back to the women's springboard final here at the Pan Am Games. This beautiful facility here, the Indiana University Natatorium, where in the next 8 days we're going to have 4 diving finals. Of course, the great one, Greg Louganis, will be competing here. And in the swimming competition, 32 events, including Olympic gold medal winners Mike O'Brien and Carrie Steincypher will be here. Now through 4 dives, McCormick has taken the lead over Megan Nair, and Nair is ready now to begin the 5th round of the competition.
This is round 5. It's the last round of the easy dives. And Meg's last dive is an inward 1 1/2 somersaults. That's what we saw Kelly finish up round 4 with. They can do them in any order. That's the only strategy that's allowed in this particular part of the competition.
And once we get to round 6,
then you see optionals. They do their most difficult somersaulting and twisting dives. Another good dive. A little bit over rotation. Won't be the 9s, but at least 8s. And remember, in diving, anything better than 7 is good. So that was another very good dive.
good scores too. They'll throw out the 9 and the 7.5, and 50 points total for Megan Nair here in the 5th round.
You can see the same advantages for both Nair and McCormick. Both are very strong. Both are very quick. You can see 1 1/2 somersaults straight in on the entry.
Coach Ronnie O'Brien, who of course coaches so many members of the United States team,
including Greg Louganis, and is our head Olympic coach for 1988.
Megan and Kelly both seem so relaxed at this point and really coming through at this point. Now Vivian Alberti from Puerto Rico, 14 years old.
And really in a different league in this competition, Jim. Nair, McCormick, Fuller, a number of them are veterans of major international competitions. She's just a youngster and really is getting an education watching them dive.
She finished 2nd this year in the Central American Games. Vivian Alberti talking to her coach Hector Bass, who you used to compete against.
Hector used to dive in Miami, used to train there, and competed in many international competitions representing Puerto Rico.
Elsa Tenorio from Mexico City. She competed in the Olympics in 1984, took 6th in the 3-meter springboard, 7th in the platform. So she's competed quite a while, 24-year-old.
Also competed in the 80 Olympics and competed internationally. We've seen her in competitions for at least the last 10 years. Is a veteran, is a good diver, not a great diver. And she had one absolutely disastrous dive early in the competition, knocked her way down in the standings. It's almost like spotting everyone 20 or 30 points.
That unfortunate dive was in the 3rd round for Tenorio. Here, good scores, including an 8.5 from the Colombian judge. That'll be tossed aside along with the 7 from the United States, times the difficulty factor of 2.1. And good.
This is what the judges look at, that approach to the end of the board, the takeoff and how high they get, the dive in the air, and the last thing is the entry. A lot of splash on the entry, but everything else was very good.
We saw Debbie Fuller earlier from Canada. Her teammate, 23-year-old Jennifer Tisdale, now up on the board.
We're going to go to commercial after her dive.
Jenny was runner-up to Debbie Fuller in the Canadian Nationals. This is a forward 1 1/2 somersaults with 2 twists. looks like a difficult dive, Jim, even though it's in those early rounds. It is, but she has chosen to do very simple dives and one more difficult. As long as at the end of 5 rounds they're all even on that degree of difficulty, it's okay.
Tisdale 8th coming into this round, and 7.5s and 7s for Tisdale here. She attends Concordia University in Montreal.
Watch the start. She's going to start the somersault, open up, put 2 twists in, and finish right straight in. A good dive.
All right, Phil Boggs. So Jennifer Tisdale with good scores as well. In the standings here, we are in round 5. Kelly McCormick leading it over Megan Nair. Debbie Fuller is 3rd. We're almost through 5 rounds. Of course, round 6 will begin the option dance along with Phil Boggs. We're at the Indiana University Natatorium in the women's 3-meter springboard final. Right now, Kelly McCormick and Megan Nair locked in another duel. We're looking at Angela Ribeiro from Brazil, who is 4th coming into this round.
Angela, like many of the foreign divers, is training in the United States.
South American champion.
It's a front 1 1/2 somersaults with 1 twist, a simple dive, and yet she was just not quite to vertical. Must be to vertical to get those good scores in these early rounds of competition.
Ribeiro getting 7.5s, 7s, 42 points for her.
Versus those top 3 in the competition. That's going to push her further down in the standings, further away from a medal.
Now this is Debbie Fuller of Canada, who is right in the thick of it with Megan Nair and Kelly McCormick.
And her 5th dive is a reverse dive in a pike position. Reverse direction is where you go down the board forward and dive back towards the diving board.
She's already won the Canadian Championship this year in the 1-meter springboard, 3-meter springboard, and the platform.
And that was a very good dive. You know, she has been training at the University of Florida, where she was an All-American with Megan Nair. This year, their coach left, and she's moved to Ohio State and will be training with Kelly McCormick before the '88 Olympics.
Good scores for Fuller here in round 5, including 8s.
Watch this reverse direction. You walk down the board forward, and rotate back towards the diving board. Later on in the competition, you'll see him go that same direction with 2 1/2 somersaults. See coming at you and go in the other direction. Very nice entry.
That brings up Kelly McCormick. A little short on that one, Phil.
A little bit short, but still basically 5 for 5 on the first 5 rounds of competition. She's going to stay right close to Nair with that one.
Nair has already excelled on her dive in the 5th round. McCormick picks up 49 points, and she'll stay in first through 5 rounds.
But it leaves them virtually tied going into those optional dives. Watch the power. You saw Fuller go off the diving board. Look how much higher McCormick gets. Just opened up a little bit early, just a little bit short of vertical.
All right, we're through 5 rounds. It's McCormick followed by Nair. Let's go back to the CBS Broadcast Center and Brent Musburger.
All right, Jim Nance, thank you very much. Meanwhile, checking in over at the baseball, the United States has just broken through and scored its first run against the Canadians. So batting in the bottom of the 4th inning, they now trail by a score of 3-1. Great competition over in diving between Nair and McCormick. We'll keep you up to date with that. And also, we're going to be sending you out to the basketball venue. The United States, a very talented team led by David Robinson, will be taking on the Panama national team today in their first contest. So all of that is still ahead of us here when we continue with our live coverage of the 10th Pan American Games from Indianapolis. Let me show you how the United States baseball team broke through in the bottom of the 4th inning, trailing the Canadians by a score of 3-0. They have put together back-to-back doubles. Now, in this sequence, the designated hitter Fiore hits a high fly ball, which is actually misplayed out in right field. Perhaps the wind bothered the outfielder out there. Fiore pulled up at second, and the United States had plated its first run, and they now trail 3-1, still batting in the bottom of the 4th inning. And the United States basketball team about to get underway. David Robinson and friends, it'll be interesting when you watch this team to sort of mentally compare it with that great team we had in Los Angeles in the '84 Olympics. This is a very powerful contingent. They'll be heavily favored over Panama. To get a preview, let's go out to Vern Lundquist and Billy Packer. Vern?
We're live from Market Square Arena, where in about 20 minutes, the United States and Panama will tip off the basketball competition that will take a full 2 weeks to determine the gold medal winner of these 10th annual Pan American Games. The United States team warming up at the left side of the court, featuring David Robinson, Danny Manning, Purvis Ellison, coached by Denny Crum of Louisville, assisted from Jed Heathcote of Michigan State. A very, very well-known and outstanding contingent. At the other end of the court, 12 young men from Panama, a team not as well known, perhaps, by those of you who follow basketball here in the United States. But there is a small city to the west in which they're very well known. And good afternoon, everybody. I'm Vern Lundquist. We'll be here for the start of the U.S.-Panama game in just a few moments. The Panamanian team is an interesting, fascinating story because just west of Indianapolis on the western edge of the state of Iowa, the small city of Sioux City, Iowa, is host of Briar Cliff College. It's an NAIA school featuring 1,300 students, an NAIA school that has been very, very excellent in basketball in the last few years. And there's an interesting story there because 7 of these 12 Panamanian team members played for Briar Cliff. They played in particular for Coach Ray Nackey, and he is standing by with my colleague, Bill Packard. Bill?
Ray, I want to go over a starting lineup today for you. Malcolm, Grinald, Galvez, Frazier, and Butler. Names that ring a bell for you, don't they?
Yes, they do, Billy. They all started for us at Briar Cliff College, and they had great careers for us, and we had outstanding teams with those young men.
You know, one of the things that's interesting to me is how a connection between Iowa and Panama.
Well, it started with my first year at Briar Cliff. We played a college on our schedule that had several players from Panama playing for them, and they really beat us. The longer we played, the worse it got. And I had a trainer that was from Peru, and I told him to go over and talk to one of those players and find out how they got up in the Midwest. And from their conversation, the player from the other college and my trainer, well, I got the name of the coach, and his name is Cecilio Williams. Really a fine coach and a very, very good person and a good personal friend of mine. And we exchanged letters, and we started to talk on the phone, and that's how I started to get players in Panama.
You've had 3 guys that have been drafted by the NBA, 2 fellas that are presently 1-2 in the history of scoring in the state of Iowa college ball, and your 5 leading scorers in your school's history all around this ball club, aren't they?
Yes, that's true, and they have really had great careers, and they've made Briar Cliff basketball, and we're very, very happy about that and pleased, and hope they have good success here this afternoon, Bill.
Well, Ray, when they came over, they said, hey, Coach, great seeing you again. I know it's got to be a great feeling for you. And Vern back to a guy that's having a great day here today.
Yes, Ray Nackey is. So coming up in just a few minutes, we've got the U.S. against Panama. I think Ray Nackey will be pulling for the Panamanians, understandably. It's U.S. versus Panama right now. Let's go back to Brent Musburger in our CBS Broadcast Center.
All right, Vern, and the Americans baseball rally continues. Wood has just walked. They have runners on first and second back to Busch Stadium, and here is John Dockery.
Thank you, Brent. In the situation here, bottom of the 4th inning, as you mentioned, 2 outs. U.S. trails Canada 3-1. Mike Fiore on second base. Ted Wood on first. Center fielder Larry Lamphere is at bat. Against Real Cormier, who has baffled the U.S. hitters, he's only given up 2 hits. Best opportunity of the day for the United States, Mark Marcus.
Lamphere, good speed. The ball in the gap. The United States could score 2 here. Tie the game. Went for a bad pitch. Chased a low breaking ball there.
So the count is 0-2, 2 outs. Larry Lamphere, the center fielder for the United States. And those base running errors early, 2 of them by the United States in the second inning, certainly may come back to haunt the U.S. team.
It cost the USA one run. Sylvester made a big turn at second, and they threw him behind him and got him, and then Martinez got picked off at first. That hurt them.
Well, Larry Lamphere can change all of that now as he faces Real Cormier, the lefty. Lefty's given the U.S. problems all throughout their tour. And he does it again. Strikes out Lamphere. We'll be back from Busch Stadium at the 10th Pan American Games after this word from your local station.
CBS Sports coverage of the 10th Pan American Games is...
Welcome back to Busch Stadium, site of the Pan American baseball competition. As you see, Canada leads the United States 3-1, top of the 5th inning, and coming to bat to the Canadians. And this is Greg Deuce, the first baseman, 0 for 2 on the day. On the mound, Clyde Keller for the United States, who replaced Greg Olson, who struggled early. I'm John Dockery, along with Mark Marquis, coach of the Stanford University Cardinal, 1987 NCAA baseball champions. And what about the game so far? Problems for Coach Frazier told us about his U.S. team. If the pitching faltered, and it has here today, with Greg Olson going 2 2/3 innings, giving up 3 runs, he would have problems.
Well, Olson wasn't sharp, and then in the second inning, the Canadians got 3 hits in a row, then 2 base-on balls. One of the base-on balls walked in a run, so it was a bad inning there, and he's worried. There's no question about it. Coach Frazier's got to be concerned. Keller's done a good job, long relief, doing his job, keeping the United States in the game, trying to control the Canadians.
3 balls, 1 strike, no out. No outs. Greg Deuce, the batter, the first baseman for Canada, perhaps their best hitter, fouls it off. Count goes to 3-2.
United States coaches indicated they're going to try to get Deuce out with off-speed pitches. They don't like to throw him a fastball. He sits on that fastball pretty well.
Were you surprised the way Greg Olson pitched?
I was. I really was. I thought he would be a lot sharper today, but that happens.
Down the left field line, goes to the wall. Deuce around first, into second with a double.
I think he got a fastball there, and he's a good fastball hitter. Jumped on that pitch inside.
Does this demoralize a U.S. team? So we saw them in practice 3 days ago. They seemed tired. They seemed listless. Then they seemed to get some energy back, and they were excited about coming into this competition. They've just finished their 36-game summer tour. They won 28 out of the 36 games. They seem to be ready, yet today they seem sluggish. They made mistakes, and Frazier certainly not feeling well himself. He has that kidney stone, but he's still out here worried about his team.
I think they're all right. When they first came in, they were tired. They've been traveling a lot, but they seem a lot better today when we were down on the field before the game. They're relaxed. They're just not hitting the ball like they can. They need some base hits. United States needs to get some base hits and put some runs on the board. It can't keep playing these low-scoring games.
Randy Curran, the number 4 hitter, the designated hitter, up for Canada. Pitches out. Outside, 1 ball, 1 strike, nobody out. Top of the 5th inning. And as you look at the competition in baseball here at the Pan Am Games, there are 8 teams. Of course, Cuba, the heavy favorite. They've won the gold 7 out of 9 times in the Pan American Games. But the United States thought they had a legitimate chance.
I think they do. I think they do because of their pitching. And obviously, if the United States lost this game to Canada, it wouldn't help their chances. But they've got enough pitching. And when you play 7 games, the pitching should come to the forefront. And the United States will be all right.
Well, the format, they play a round robin to decide the teams with the best 4 records. They go to the middle round, 4 against 1, 3 against 2. The pitch by Keller, it's popped up behind the plate. Scott Service waiting, makes the catch. 1 out.
John, that's a big out there. I'll tell you why. If Curran pulls that ball, you get the runner at third base. Infield has to come in. Third base, 1 out. Getting that out there is big. Curran was trying to pull the ball and get the runner second over to third with 1 out. Couldn't do it.
You know, we've been talking a little bit as you look at Jim Kokis coming up for Canada. Clyde Keller on the mound for the United States. 3-1 Canada leads. You were on the last Pan American team, U.S. team, to win the gold back in 1967 in Winnipeg. Does this American team remind you of that team at all?
It does in a lot of ways. We had good pitching and a scrappy bunch. And I think this USA team is scrappy, and I think they're not going to be intimidated. Aggressive style of play, very similar.
Do they have comeback ability?
Yes, they do. They really do because of that speed.
Pitch to Kokis, strike.
When you have speed, you can create a lot of problems for the opposition. And the United States, if they do have one thing, they have that speed. But you got to get it on the bases.
And so many good athletes have passed through Pan American competition on their way to the pros, and I want to talk about that in a moment. 1 ball, 1 strike, 1 out. Keller's pitch, ball 2. Some of the great athletes that come through, the one that comes to my mind is Mark McGuire, the outstanding first baseman for Oakland. He played on the last Pan American U.S. team. And Corey Snyder was another, and you can think of others, I'm sure.
Those are 2 future superstars. They're great ones.
You might even say present superstars.
You got that.
The pitch, well hit to deep left center field.
Oh,
it's out of here. That ball is out of here.
He really got all of that one.
Clyde Keller hung that ball, and Kokis just leaned on it the minute it was hit. The outfielders Wood and Lamphere knew it was gone. So the United States is further in the hole now. They trail 5-1. Take a look at it again.
There you go. I think it was a palm ball. He left inside and up a little bit, and that wind is blowing straight out to center field, and that ball is way out.
And in this ballpark, Mark Marquis, you cannot make those kinds of mistakes. When you look down the line, you see 335. Center field, you see 405. Down the other line, 335. The power alleys, 350 and 350. So a pitcher really has to be careful.
Well, the alleys are short, but I'll tell you, that would have gone out on any yard. That was really kissed. That was almost dead center field, just to the left of the 405 sign.
Are you surprised the United States has outstanding pitching? Two of their prospects sure to be pros down the line. Chris Carpenter, a man that Ron Frazier, the coach, has talked about often. Are you surprised we haven't seen him?
Well, you're not going to bring Carpenter in here because you're not going to waste him. Carpenter is your short relief man, and you're going to bring him in when you have a chance to win the game. He's not going to use Carpenter unless he gets close enough to win the game or ties it or goes ahead. He's not going to waste Carpenter.
Mark Griffin, the hitter. Ground ball to Griffin, handles it easily, over to Martinez. 2 out. Now let's go back to Brent Musburger at the CBS Broadcast Center. Brent?
All right, John, thank you. So the United States team has fallen behind. We will keep you up to date on that. Meanwhile, in the women's 3-meter springboard competition, only 1 point separating Kelly McCormick and Megan Nair. We'll go out to that, but first we'll take a break, and we will return to Indianapolis in just a moment. Well, already on this first day of Pan Am competition, 5 countries have won gold medals. Brazil broke through in the marathon. Argentina and Mexico have captured gold medals, 2 for Cuba and 7 so far for the United States. The United States is closing in on number 8. It is great competition. Let's send you back to the natatorium, and here's Jim Nance and Phil Boggs. Jim?
All right, thank you very much, Brent. I'll tell you, you can't get much closer than this. Only 1 point separating Americans Kelly McCormick and Megan Nair after 6 dives, and Nair has already attempted her dive here in round 7.
Yeah, this is her 7th dive. It's a back 2.5 somersault pike, the most difficult somersaulting dive used by a woman in competition backwards, and watch the finish. A little bit short, but pulls it around and ends up with a great entry.
Right now on the board is Angela Ribeiro from Brazil, who is in medal contention 4th and only 12 points behind Debbie Fuller of Canada for 3rd.
And you can see we've moved into degree of difficulties at 2.8, 3.0 now.
This is where the fun starts.
Absolutely.
Divers can attempt any dive they choose. And in what order?
Just a little bit of splash on the entry, but otherwise a good dive. We talked about the strategy in this competition. They've got to go from the 5 different types or directions you can go off a diving board. They've got to do an optional from that. From there on, it's open season. They pick which one, and they pick in what order they can do it in. And what's funny is Nair, or interesting, is Nair and McCormick have picked the same order to do theirs. This is the reverse direction. Land on the end of the diving board and somersault 2.5 times back towards the diving board. A lot of splash on the entry, but straight up and down.
Debbie Fuller of Canada.
Now she basically needs 6s on this dive to move past Ribeiro and to stay in 3rd position.
32 points out of 1st through 6 rounds. She would need a couple of really big dives to get back up there in the chase for the gold or silver.
After Nair's dive, she'd need a virtually perfect dive to move up to gold or silver right now. Straight in, but barely finished the dive. You saw Nair and McCormick earlier complete their somersaults almost at diving board level. She completed hers right at water level.
She moves past Ribeiro with that dive. 6.5 for Debbie Fuller.
Watch when she does the somersaults. Not the same kind of jump that Nair and McCormick have. She just gets open before she hits the water, and in fact, she's a little short of vertical.
Now, Kelly McCormick, gold medalist in this event in Caracas in 1983. And she, what will she need here? 69 points to take over the lead from Nair.
That's 8s, all 8s, and she's going to get 72 points and move ahead by a fraction. Same dive as Nair did, a very good dive. This is going to be close, Jim. That looks like maybe 7.5s. Put Nair in the lead this round by a little bit. She's looking at the scoreboard as we are, waiting for the judges to post the totals. That's her coach telling him, I'll take it. That is a difficult dive. Same optional that most of the men use in competition. These are two strong women divers.
She is 0.6 of a point behind Megan Nair. And I didn't think you could get any closer than 1.2 points after 6 rounds, but they've done it.
This is just, can you match this? I said, can you top this? It looks like it's, can you match this? It's almost a replay of Nair's dive. You can see her somersault back towards us, pull into that tight pike.
So we have 3 rounds remaining. Boy, what a competition we have. Let's go back to the broadcast center and Brent Musburger.
All right, Jim, it certainly cannot get any closer than that. Meanwhile, we are about to start our basketball competition, the talented United States team against Panama. So we want to go there, and Vern Lundquist and Billy Packer for the start of that game.
Thank you, Brent. Just across town from our CBS Broadcast Center, Market Square Arena, where the basketball competition will be held for the next 2 weeks, culminating in the gold medal encounter on the 23rd of August in both men's and women's competition. And the first game of the competition this afternoon, Panama against the United States. I'm Vern Lundquist along with Bill Packer. And Bill, there is a little bit of a different flavor to international basketball.
Well, I think so. The United States team with Denny Crum is going to be an up-tempo team. Everybody knows that Louisville, he likes to press, he likes to move the ball up the court, and he has a team that obviously can do that out here. You see the international teams like to play one of 2 ways. They either like to play helter-skelter, which is the case of Panama, or they like to play kind of like the Brazil club, the zone-type defense, walk the ball up the floor. So we should see a game today that's flying up and down this floor. I don't think Panama has enough athletes, of course, to go with the United States, but they should try to come after them.
There are some rules changes, and we'll talk about those throughout the course of the competition. What are the most significant rules changes you might mention now?
Well, there are a number, but for a game like this, I think the thing that's going to be most fun is the fact that the ball is alive once it touches the rim. And the American team is so big and so quick and such good leapers that I think anytime you see that ball up in the rim, you're going to see a lot of hands up there.
Well, it's an outstanding American team. Should be the nucleus of our Olympic team for the Seoul Olympics in '88. Let's meet the starting lineups now for both Panama and the United States. For the United States, Danny Manning from Kansas at 1 forward. Ricky Berry from San Jose State will be at the other forward. David Robinson from the Naval Academy at center. Pooh Richardson out of UCLA. And Rex Chapman from Kentucky are the guards. And for the Panama team, Tito Malcolm is at 1 forward. Rolando Frazier at the other. Mario Butler and Mario Galvez and Reggie Grenold round out the starting 5 for the Panama team. There is the Naval Academy graduate, David Robinson. He was one of the only player who drew a bye for the tryouts for this Pan Am team. 53 players did go to Colorado Springs, and I know you were there for the tryouts.
Yes, Vern, I had an opportunity to see the final day when the press is allowed to view the tryouts. And what I think is interesting is the concept now of coaches and putting together a team. I talked to Denny yesterday, and he was real impressed in the last game against the pros that out of the 48 field goals his team scored, 32 of them came off a direct assist. And he said he didn't have time to get this team to have a concentrated offense, so he wanted players that were very unselfish. And this club is really made out of that type of player. And, of course, David Robinson in the middle of the camera right there is one of the guys that plays that style of play.
American team now being introduced. There is Ricky Berry, number 7.
Kind of a surprise probably to people around the country that Ricky Berry, who doesn't have the name that some of the other players, even made the team. And here he is in the starting lineup. A great outside shooter, plays for his dad, Bill, and is one of the top players on the West Coast who hasn't gotten a lot of recognition.
And Pooh Richardson from UCLA by way of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Pooh, a very quick ball handler. Of course, in selecting this team, Denny wanted somebody that could push the ball up the floor. Pooh beat out a lot of guys like Gary Grant, the outstanding player from Michigan, for that role.
Small crowd on hand here at Market Square Arena. The finals in this competition in 2 weeks have been sold out, and there was some concern in this city that word had spread that the entire competition had been sold out. That's not the case, and there's a moderate crowd here. Denny Crum, head coach of Louisville, of course. Quite an honor to be selected as the Pan American head coach. And an interesting story for the Panama squad. Their head coach is 33-year-old Jim Barron, who was an assistant to Digger Phelps at Notre Dame in 1982 when a call came looking for a coach for the Panama squad. Came from an Archbishop of Panama Bill, as a matter of fact, Marcus McGrath, who had played basketball at Notre Dame.
Sure, he called Father Joyce. You talk about what a small world, and Father Joyce said, well, you can't have Digger, so how about one of the assistants? So Jim got that opportunity. Been working with the team for 5 years now and is very well received down there.
And we're underway with basketball competition from Indianapolis.
Bad toss by the part of the official.
Officials are Kostas Rigas from Greece and Julio Durta from Uruguay.
I always check officials' sneakers because if they're wearing a pair of Chuck Taylor Converse, you know the guy hasn't worked many games. I think they went out of existence back in the early 50s.
Rebound, Mario Galvez. This is Reggie Grenold. All of these players once played collegiate ball at Briar Cliff in Sioux City, Iowa. And their head coach, Ray Mackey, is on. Mario Galvez.
Screen.
Blocked by Robinson. And the first foul of the game underneath Danny Manning gets called for it.
Great solid screen by Butler and David Robinson, who everybody knows is the leading shot blocker in the history of collegiate ball, got a piece of it. Danny Manning, who's starting to add a little bulk to his frame now. Such a gifted player. Great passer, can move inside or outside. Get called for the foul.
Rolando Frazier, 29 years of age, 6'7", 215 pounds.
Considered the greatest player in the history of Panama. We mentioned all the players that went to Briarcliff. We almost ought to mention the ones that didn't go, but he was one of the first up there and a three-time NAIA All-American.
Rex Chapman, guarded by Reggie Grenold. Here's Pooh Richardson.
Straight man-to-man. Now they drop him back in a little zone. Showed the man, playing the 2-3 zone.
30-second clock in international rules. A foul called on Reggie Grenold.
Yeah, we have the 30-second clock as opposed to the 24-second clock in the NBA and the 45-second shot clock in collegiate basketball.
Ball inbounded by Pooh Richardson.
Trying to match up on Robinson a little bit down on the baseline.
Ricky Berry hits a three-pointer.
Now we talk about specific roles, Vern, and that's what Ricky Berry was picked on this team for, his great ability to shoot outside that three-point range and bring those zones back out. Straight man-to-man by the United States.
Reggie Grenold guarded by Pooh Richardson. Tito Malcolm hits the first basket now for the Panamanian team.
Berry got a piece of it. Obviously, one of the things you want to do against a zone like this is to beat it back down court.
Chapman thinks about the three-pointer.
Great pass.
Oh, terrific pass from Manning. Robinson has the shot rejected. It's out of bounds. It'll be USA's ball.
Great pass. Butler did some job hanging on in the inside against Robinson.
Terrific one-touch pass from Manning.
Panamanian team has some fellas been playing on this national team for more than 10 years, so a very experienced group. Robinson starting to push inside with Butler now.
Richardson with the off-balance shot. The rebound comes down in the hands of Rolando Frazier.
You're going to see David Robinson tested physically on the inside early in his ball game because Butler's got a lot of bulk. Great block. With the chest.
Yes, it was. Reggie Grenold running into David Robinson.
You know, so many comparisons made about Robinson with Bill Russell. One of the things Robinson showed there, as Russell used to, is the fact that it's not the object to slap the ball away and knock it out of bounds. Just hold your hands up, make the offensive player commit.
Galvez will go to the line and shoot a couple. Pooh Richardson guilty of the foul. We're early in this first basketball game of the Pan Am competition.
We're looking at a man going to the foul line here, Mario Galvez, the leading scorer in collegiate Iowa basketball history, which is kind of unique. I think we're talking about Iowa State's, all the various outstanding players that have come down the pike in the state of Iowa. And here's a young man from Panama. It's the leading scorer in the history of the state as far as college players on all levels.
Panama won the Central American Games championship a couple of weeks ago. Mario Galvez, Bill was talking about his scoring exploits. He had a high of 56 points in one game for Briarcliff, which is the tops in Iowa collegiate history. Well, we've given you a taste of the basketball competition, the opening moments of this game, which the USA is a 4-3 game right now. Let's go back to Brent Musburger as Chapman scores. We'll go back to Brent Musburger in the CBS Broadcast Center.
All right, Vernon, we'll be checking back in on that United States versus Panama basketball competition, but we want to update the baseball. The United States again has rallied against the Canadian team, down 5-1. They scored a run, and then Silvestri stepped to the plate, and he hammered the first home run for the United States team. And now it is a 5-3 game. The Canadians leading the United States in the opening round of the baseball competition. Megan Nair against Kelly McCormick. Let's go to Jim Nance at the Natatorium. Jim?
Jim Nance and Phil Boggs back at the Indiana University Natatorium, and we're again through 7 rounds. Megan Nair leading Kelly McCormick by 0.6 of a point. McCormick now ready to dive in round 8.
Same dive that Nair used earlier in the round.
Oh, she ripped that one.
That was a great dive. She may move into the lead this time.
Nair scored 8s and 8.5s, and we are talking again, folks, a difference of 1.3 points. Nair will stay in front.
All that,
just behind.
All that means is a half from any judge along the way made the difference in that 1 point, because it's multiplied by the degree of difficulty. Look at that height, 2.5 somersaults above the board. Just a little bit of splash on the entry, but a great dive.
I was like a foot back from the end, and I'm like, oh, shit.
McCormick and Debbie Fuller of Canada.
Well, they'll be training together next year for the Olympics, each hoping to represent their country. This is Ayala of Mexico. It's a back 2.5 somersaults in the tuck position.
Ayala, 18, former world age group champion.
And a good diver, but still more at the age group caliber level than the senior level. She's not quite in the league of Nair and McCormick, who are clearly among the best divers in the world.
So again, Phil, we're through 8 rounds, and of course 7 judges here. And the difference, after all of that, is a mere 1 point, which would be equivalent to 1/2 point from one judge somewhere along the way. So Nair and McCormick, it's virtually a photo finish at this point through 8 rounds. Megan Nair has been leading off the rounds, diving first. Is that an advantage or a disadvantage, Phil?
Well, in a way, it's a disadvantage because she has to go first and set the stage for everybody else. She's made the mark for everyone else to follow, but she doesn't have to have the opportunity to see what they've done to know. But with McCormick and Nair today, it's just been, can you top this? I'll do a great dive, can you? And she's done a great dive, too, each time along the way. And the fun part about the finals is they're doing the same optional dives in the same order. This time, it's a reverse 2.5 somersaults pike, a 3.0 degree of difficulty, the hardest dive either of them will use in competition.
Oh, no.
That's a first miss by either of them. But again, McCormick has the same dive later in a round. It's a tough dive. All they have to be off is a fraction of a second in their timing.
Nair is kind of the hard luck story in women's diving. She qualified first for the 1980 Olympic team. Of course, that didn't go. She was the 82 world champion, but missed out on the 84 Olympics and the 86 world championships.
84 and 86, she did the same thing. 86, that exact dive cost her a berth on the 86 world team. You watch what happens in the takeoff. Everything looks great right here. Let go just a little bit early. Boom, on her back. Fraction of a second off. That's all it takes.
Unfortunate timing for Nair in the 9th round. And let's go to poolside. And John Neighbor with a very special guest. John?
Thanks, Jim. We're down here at poolside. Greg Louganis has come to watch the women's 3-meter springboard. And, you know, you've watched Megan Nair and Kelly McCormick go head-to-head on numerous occasions. How do you rate this battle?
Well, it's a good battle. Megan just had a missed dive, reverse 2.5 pike, landed a little bit short, opening the door right to Kelly McCormick. So, you know, it's always a difficult rivalry. They're both about of equal talent, and they're both doing the same dive. So it's
coming this far with 3 rounds to go. They've been within 1 or 2 points of each other the entire day. Of course, this will open up the door, but do you think we'll see more consistency for the rest of the competition?
Well, I think it's going to be, it has been a very consistent contest so far between Megan and Kelly. And so, you know, it'll come down to the last dive, I'm sure.
Well, how do you compare this competition with other major international diving events?
Well, major international competitions, Kelly and Meg are up there. You know, Megan was world champion, and Kelly was silver medalist in LA, and so they're tough competitors.
Well, thanks for your insight. We'll be looking forward to watching you dive a little bit later on. So that's it for the pool deck for now. We'll go back up to Jim Nance. Jim?
Thank you, John. And Greg Louganis will compete tomorrow in the men's springboard. Next Sunday, we'll have him live in the men's platform competition. Megan Nair and Kelly McCormick locked in a duel. We're in the 9th round, and we'll come back for the conclusion of the women's springboard final in just a moment.
Well, the Goodyear Blimp America, from high above a couple of the venues here. Shooting down, you can see the track and field and also the natatorium. There are 38 countries competing here in these Pan American Games, and we have 30 sports, including baseball. And the United States team has closed to within 1 run. They are through 5 innings. The score is now 5-4. Mike Fiore has contributed 2 RBIs. This is the second one, which pulled the American team to within 1 run. Tino Martinez had doubled for the second time. Fiore went the opposite way to right field. Martinez came around, and through the 6th inning now, it is 5-4, so we'll keep you up to date on that. Meanwhile, will it be Nair or McCormick? Megan Nair left the door open, and let's go back out to Jim Nance. Jim?
The standings through 8 rounds, Megan Nair leading by a point over Kelly McCormick, but again, Nair has missed her dive essentially here in the 9th round. Phil, I'm curious, do you think that McCormick is aware the divers go into a back room? A lot of them don't really talk to each other. Do you think that she is aware of the situation here on Nair's dive?
Both of them claim that during a competition, they disappear off into the back room, don't pay any attention to the scores, don't pay any attention to the other divers. They're just performing. But with this packed house, they can't help but know what's going on when they hear the crowd roar for a great dive and moan for a bad dive. And with Nair and McCormick up until this round, it's been one roar after another. In the last round, just a little bit of a moan. This is Christy Ramos. It's a back 2 1/2 somersaults in the tuck position. Now, Christy is trained this summer at Mission Bay with Megan Nair. And that was awful. You know, again, it just shows the level of competition. This is a world-class competition, and it shows you how good McCormick and Nair are when they can do those difficult dives consistently good.
3.5s and 4.5s for Ramos from Puerto Rico. She ranks 9th at the moment.
Watch, she's going to somersault 2 1/2 times backwards. Watch in the start. All looks okay here. Not very high in the jump. Let's go way too early.
McCormick still waiting for her turn. 3 divers ahead of her. We're really looking at our U.S. squad for the 88 Summer Games, aren't we, McCormick and Nair?
I think you've got 2 outstanding veterans who are among the best 3 or 4 divers in the world. The United States is a current world team champion in both men's and women's diving. So we are tough, and these are our best. Lori Roberts is doing a back 1 1/2 somersaults with a half twist. Again, this is a dive that's really more done by age groupers in a beginning level. She is out of her league in this one with Nair and McCormick.
Megan Nair now will have 1 more dive left in the competition, and she'll have to hit that one, especially after scoring 4.5.
She's got to throw away that other dive and think.
Just relaxing with the music. Trying to regain the composure after the miss.
McCormick's concentrating on this particular dive. We go back to Nair, whose undergraduate degree was in psychiatry. She's in psychology. She's in graduate school in psychology. And one thing that she claims is her biggest problem is paralysis by analysis. she outthinks herself, and that causes her to miss. And here in the contest, it was rolling along great. She may have psyched herself out of the last dive.
Phil, this girl here, Ribeiro from Brazil, has a chance at a bronze. She's currently 4th behind Debbie Fuller from Canada.
And if you remember Nair and McCormick, both of them for their forward optional chose to do 2.5 somersaults. She's the only girl in the competition doing 3.5 somersaults. The only woman in the world using that in competition today. Although Nair and McCormick both have done it in training.
Scores were not that good.
Well, see, the judges judge the performance. They look at what she did and said, this dive is so-so for a dive. They let the degree of difficulty take care of what happens. Pretty good jump, but watch in the finish. Her legs come apart, she's short of vertical, gets a lot of splash. All those things cause the judges to take points off. The degree of difficulty will be multiplied by the score, and that will make up for how hard that dive was compared to the other ones.
21-year-old Debbie Fuller from Canada in 3rd.
Just a shade short of vertical, but a very good dive. You could see on her dive versus Ribeiro, the legs were tight together, a nice stretch, a good line for the finish, just a little short of vertical. And again, you see the scores that she's going to get out of that. 7.5s, all in the good category. Anything better than a 7 in diving means it's a good dive.
So that'll bring up Kelly McCormick. Let's take one more look at Debbie Fuller now.
She's going to start somersaulting forward, open up, do 2 twists. You can see her feet were a little short of the end of the board. Could have gone in a little, gone to the end and gotten a little bit higher.
Kelly McCormick, 305, Big Rivers, 2.5 somersaults.
Many people know her mother, Patty McCormick, a 4-time gold medal winner. And here in attendance today.
Same dive that Nair did. Better than Nair's, but didn't step in and close the door completely. There's 2 dives left in the competition. We still have a competition. She's looking for the scores. You can see 6.5s and 7s.
Patty McCormick in red looking on, and that'll give McCormick a 21-point lead.
You can see her coach giving her all the details, what she did on that one. Watch the difference is McCormick in this dive is quicker than Nair. She's got the somersault done higher and actually over-rotates just a fraction. You can see her coming at us, somersaulting back the other direction. Look how high the somersault's finished. She is powerful and quick.
Yeah. We got inward? And twist.
There's Kelly McCormick with Debbie Fuller. 1 round left in the competition. Now, what must Megan Nair do here, their final attempt, Phil?
Concentration. She's got to divorce herself from the crowd, from the rest of the competition, and from what she did in the past, and put a great dive in and put the pressure on.
She has been training nonstop for a year. She told us she has not been home in over a year, and she's leaving from the Pan Am Games to go back to Ashland, Kentucky to visit with family this week.
And maybe put a little too much pressure on herself to come back and win. But her final dive is her bread and butter dive. This one, even when she's had her ups and downs, she very rarely misses and will put the pressure back on McCormick.
21-point separation.
But remember, with these dives at 2.8 degree of difficulty, 2.9 degree of difficulty, a 20-point turnaround is very possible.
8 national titles for University of Florida. I guess you can't do any better than that.
8 NCAA titles, 8 in a row. That's all you can do. There's 2 events in NCAA competition. This is a back 1 1/2 somersaults with 2 1/2 twists. Great for a final dive. Again, that's going to be 8, 8.5. McCormick's going to have to miss for, say, 6s to make this contest change hands.
Right on the money there, Phil. 8.5s, and 9 will go out from the American judge, as well as the 7.5 from the Cuban judge. 69 points for Megan Nair on this dive, Phil.
Total of 544, which is a great 10 dive total. Watch she start somersaulting, 2.5 twists, and straight in. Just a little bit of splash at the bottom.
So Megan Nair comes through in the final round after missing in round 9, and Kelly McCormick will be back to defend her title after this.
Well, a couple other stories I want to quickly update you on our way back to Kelly McCormick's last couple of dives. Now, out at the baseball, the last of the 6th inning, the United States batting and still trailing by 1 run in that game. Certainly we'll have the conclusion of that for you. And in basketball, what I think is a major surprise is the way Panama has started off against this talented U.S. team. They lead by a point. What I've been able to ascertain so far, a very physical game. In fact, Finis Dembo of Wyoming and Jeff Lebo of North Carolina collided, and Lebo suffered a cut to the facial area. He's over on the bench right now, so certainly we'll be going out there. But right now, let's send you back to the natatorium, and here is Jim Nance. Jim?
Well, 21 points was the difference coming into the 10th round here at the women's 3-meter springboard. Nair has already attempted her 10th dive. Kelly McCormick warming up, still waiting to go. She'll need 48 points, a little more than 48 points, Phil, to win it.
That's from the judges' 6s. She gets all 6s and it's a lock, but the contest isn't a lock. She has got a very difficult last dive, and it all depends on how good she gets off the diving board. And Megan knows. You can tell watching, she knows.
It's Christy Ramos of Puerto Rico, 9th in the competition. Not trying a very difficult dive at this point.
No, it's an inward 1 1/2 somersault. You saw McCormick and Nair do 2 1/2 somersaults the same direction. With McCormick and Nair, you have 2 of the most powerful women divers in the world today. They can do all the most difficult dives and do them well. With both of them, the difference between winning the Olympics for McCormick, who was runner-up, it's all been one of consistency. This is the inward direction. Each of them had to have done optionals in this direction. It's 1 1/2 somersaults. And right straight in, but a little bit of splash.
Lori Roberts, the Bahamas.
And the Bahamas can enter the competition, but she really is not a senior level diver, not a finalist in any of the major national or international competitions in the United States or in the world. That was 2 1/2 somersaults forward, only a 2.2 degree of difficulty. Every one of the girls in the competition, other girls in the competition, have done 2 1/2 somersaults. Pike or Angela Ribeiro did a 3 1/2 somersaults forward.
Angela Ribeiro of Brazil is next, and she comes into this final round only 5 points out of 4th, well back of Debbie Fuller for 3rd and the bronze medal, but still possible 4th here for Ribeiro.
And this is an inward 2 1/2 somersaults. We saw earlier 1 1/2. This is 2 1/2. And a good last dive for her. That could move her up into 4th and really put a little bit of pressure on Fuller for the bronze medal.
Debbie Fuller will be next, and it's Kelly McCormick, who again must look at a dive of 6.5 to win the competition and take it away from Megan Nair.
But what she's got to look at is the difficulty of the dive she's doing. She has to concentrate on that dive. This is 2 1/2 somersaults inward by Angela Ribeiro. A little backed away from the diving board, finished just on top of the water, but straight in.
These have to be the most anxious moments for Kelly McCormick in this position.
Well, you heard her just a second ago say, "Go Debbie." They're going to be teammates training in Columbus this fall for that Olympic year. Same dive we just saw, 2 1/2 somersaults in the inward direction. And a good last dive for Debbie Fuller. Should be enough to keep her as the bronze medalist.
Debbie Fuller of Montreal. 6.5s for Fuller.
.491 total, which is a good total. 500 is really the barrier for the top international competitors.
And McCormick will be next. And here she is.
It's a reverse 1 1/2 somersaults with 2 1/2 twists. She's going to walk down in a forward approach, somersault back towards the board with 2 1/2 twists. There's your winner. That was great.
Megan Nair looks on. Kelly McCormick will win the gold medal. Mom Patty. The United States hopes for 1988.
And if they both dive like that in '88, they should be medalists again. Watch the takeoff. This is all important in this dive. It's getting on the end of the board and up in the air, and she's got the dive done above the board.
Let's take a look at Megan Nair now watching as McCormick attempts the final dive and winning dive.
She knew as soon as she saw it. There was no doubt.
So Kelly McCormick, 25, out of Long Beach, California, now living in Columbus and attending Ohio State University, has won the gold medal here in the women's springboard.
That's her father's.
Let's take it back to the studio right now, Phil Boggs. Here's Brent Musburger.
A marvelous moment over there for Kelly McCormick. That's the 9th gold medal, won already today, so a very impressive start by this United States Pan American team. Basketball is red hot as Panama hangs tough with the United States team in the early going. We'll be sending you out to that venue when we continue with our live coverage from Indianapolis in just a moment. Kelly McCormick captures the gold medal for the United States in the women's springboard competition. And we finish with a gold and a silver. And Deborah Fuller of Canada captures the bronze for her country. We're going to be going back out there shortly for the gold medal ceremony. In fact, we have an interview with Kelly right now. So let's go back to the natatorium.
Right now, we're standing with the winner of the women's 3-meter springboard, Kelly McCormick. Congratulations. Your score, 564, absolutely demolished the previous Pan Am record held by you. Your feelings about your own performance today?
I'll take it. I was consistent. Verticality is the name of the game. I lit on my head 10 times, and I'm really happy with it.
Now, the door was opened for you in the 9th round when Megan missed her reverse 2 1/2. Did you see that happen? Did you realize that was an opportunity?
No, I was in the bathroom when it happened, and I don't really watch anybody else. I just try and do what I can do, and then when the smoke clears, see what happens.
Which one dive were you most proud of?
All of them. It takes 10.
Well, that's the important thing, I guess. Congratulations for you. Thank you very much. The final standings, of course, McCormick was the winner and Megan Nair is second place. Canadians got the 3rd place medal, and we'll go back to the studio and Brent Musburger.
All right, John Neighbor, thank you. That's a great quote from a diver. Verticality is the name of the game. I landed on my head 10 straight times. I'm happy. Yes, indeed. All right, at basketball, 2 very unhappy United States players are Jeff Lebo and Finis Dembo. They have been injured out there already against Panama in separate incidents. It has been extremely physical. They're in the Market Square Arena, and Vern Lundquist, has the United States team managed to slide into the lead yet? What's the situation out there?
Well, Brent, yes, they have slid into the lead, but only by 1 point, 29-28 right now with 4:58 to go. They have hit only 42% from the field. Panama has 12 offensive rebounds. David Robinson just got his first basket, and we had the 2 injuries you spoke of to Jeff Lebo and Finis Dembo. It has been a very rough ball game. Here earlier was Fennis Dembo when 3 Americans hit the deck. Dembo caught an elbow in the eye. Jeff Lebo, already playing with a broken nose, caught an elbow from Reggie Grenold. He is on the bench. And Billy Packer, I don't think this young American team is quite used to the physical nature of this international competition.
Well, I think the game has been physical, but I'd like to, take my hats off to Panama. It's a very experienced team. We've got 2 players on the court that have had 10 years on the national team. Grenold particularly has really handled the offense well. He's kept the tempo here. You can see him talking to his coach right now. He's controlled the offense, making it a half-court game, prevented the United States from being able to move up and down the court and really get their fast break going. And so far on the inside, Butler has done an amazing job with David Robinson. Although he's only 6'6", he's been able to push, get good body position on the defensive end, and has prevented the United States from having an inside game.
Denny Crum of Louisville, the American coach, has watched David Robinson hit his first free throw, has another now. Robinson now has 4 points and 3 rebounds, but Mario Butler has done a terrific job on him in the first half.
David Robinson was just 6 for 20 from the free throw line so far in the exhibition game, so I'm glad to see for him and for Denny Crum that he's had an opportunity to bury a foul shot.
Lebo and Fennis Dembo on the bench with injuries for the American squad. They've got Pooh Richardson, David Robinson, Danny Manning, Rex Chapman, and Ricky Berry on the floor right now. This is Reggie Grenold of Panama. He's joined by Mario Galvez, who has the ball. And the 30-second clock just came into play for the first time.
Oh, no, the shot.
The shot was off before the buzzer.
The referee made a mistake on that one. That ball should have been in play. It actually had hit the rim. It should have been Panama's ball on the side. Referee just made a mistake on that one.
There's a 30-second clock in international competition as opposed to the 24 in the NBA and the 45 in NCAA. Turnovers so far 4-3 Panama. And this is the first game of the afternoon and the 2 weeks of competition, which will culminate in the gold medal games on the 23rd here in Market Square Arena. Three-pointer, Ricky Berry.
Good cross-court passing action that time and went right over the top of the zone. Berry, normally an excellent shooter from there.
USA leads 31-28. Enrique Grenold, whose brother Reggie is the other starting guard, comes in now for Panama, number 5.
They've really fought off the double teams well. There's another good example. Get the ball to Galvez, who's a good shooter. And Butler gets caught and pushing on the inside.
3-second violation as well. Richardson, nice bounce pass. Robinson, offensive foul.
Excellent job defensively by Frazier, another one of those experienced ball players. Understands the game. We talked about him being drafted. He had an opportunity to play in the NBA, possibly. Here you see David Robinson going in. Good job, as I said, by Frazier, picking up the charge.
Ricky Berry dives for the loose ball. Foul by Grenold, Enrique Grenold. Ricky Berry, perhaps, I would think he and Willie Anderson, the 2 lesser known of the 12 players.
All right, Anderson from Georgia, who hasn't seen that much action today, really started out as a small forward at Georgia, and because of Hugh Durham losing some ball players down there, was switched back to the point guard position. And, you know, when you take a look at what he did last year at Georgia, it's kind of amazing. He was in the top 10 in the SEC in scoring, free throws, assists, and blocks. How often do you see a point guard in a league of that stature be in the top 10 in block shots? But he's an outstanding player, and Ricky Berry, as you pointed out, going to the line, you see a great release on his shot. You don't find many coaches' sons that aren't good shooters. We've got some out here in Chapman. His dad coaches. Lebo, of course, his father coached him in high school, so normally a coach's son can shoot the ball.
Berry gets 1 out of 2. There once again is 33-year-old Jim Barron, native of Brooklyn. And now in his 5th year as head coach of the Panamanian team, as well as in his 1st year as head coach of St. Francis.
I thought it was great when we talked about political problems, and there's Rex Chapman, another three-pointer. Jim said yesterday, you know, we had more problems in Brooklyn than they ever have down at Panama. He says most of what you see is blown out of proportion by the press.
Left side, Mario Galvez, number 10.
Good screen by Butler again. Boy, he sets a great screen.
Robinson, or rather Purvis Ellison with the switch, and a nice pass underneath. And Rolando Frazier gets the basket.
I'm not so sure that wasn't a block, Vern. Frazier at the right place at the right time.
Barry thinks about three, gets it to Ellis, turnaround jumper, no there.
That's what's got to be available for the United States, because so far Panama has done a great job in that zone blocking off the inside.
Richardson, great anticipation.
Both Danny Manning and Purvis Ellison have been looking at the basket instead of catching the ball first. There's that good solid screen. Good help out by Purvis Ellison. Reach in by Barry, and there you see the ball was blocked and it went right over to Frazier.
Timeout has been called by Panama. That's it for them for the first half. Back to action at Market Square Arena. Vern Lundquist and Bill Packer. 2:35 to go in the first half. The Americans with their largest lead over Panama of the first half, now 35-30. This is the first day of the competition. There are 10 teams competing for the gold medal here in Indianapolis. Two pools. The USA is in Pool A with Mexico, Argentina, Venezuela, and Panama. There's a jumper from Barry.
Barry was going to try to make the pass to Purvis Ellison and slipped out of his hands, and he was able to hit the jumper anyway. United States going to a little half-court trap.
Look at Chapman. Rex Chapman gets up in the air and knocks it out of bounds.
Well, Rex has explosive leaping ability, and of course Danny Manning at 6'11" causes some real problems in the backcourt.
Barry, Chapman, Richardson, Danny Manning, and David Robinson, or rather Purvis Ellison for the United States now.
Nice job by Frazier in the reverse dribble.
Reaching his 2-minute mark. Galvez doesn't get the bounce. Oh, what a pass underneath. Richardson to Ricky Barry.
Pooh Richardson, the new assist leader at UCLA, broke our own Roy Hamilton's record for assists on the year. All Pac-10 player.
And a sudden explosion by a United States team which trailed by as many as 4 in the first half.
Never run away from the ball when it's loose, and that was the case for Danny Manning there.
Rolando Frazier gets the basket for Panama with 1:26 to go first half.
Pooh likes that move where he shoots the ball with his right hand going to the left down the lane. His quickness is starting to really show right now. You got to figure Panama, which has not substituted that liberally, is getting a little tired here.
1:10 to go. And here's an example of how Pooh Richardson became the new assist leader at UCLA.
Right, he's got his head up, he sees the full floor. Ricky Barry did a smart thing, keep moving towards that basket. You can see Pooh sees the whole floor, and now he makes the penetration move. And here's the shot that he likes. Puts it back up over his head with the right hand, going all the way down the lane.
The United States on a 14-4 run now in the last 4 minutes of the game. Substitutions. Dean Garrett back in the lineup now. Gets a nice hand. The young man who plays for Bobby Knight's Indiana Hoosiers just down the road. And Keith Smart is also on the floor.
Dean, junior college transfer, did a great job on the inside for the Hoosiers this year. And we'll watch. Everybody can go in that lane as soon as the ball is released.
Now, there's no lane violation in international play other than by the shooter, which causes all kinds of traffic jams in there.
And you will see some fellas come from the outside right down the lane to make a tap. Matter of fact, in the last Pan Am games, I remember there's a player from Brazil that was so poor from the free throw line, they had it as a set play. Guys would start at half court with a running start and be ready to make the tap in when he missed.
Well, you and I saw Keith Smart tap one in from, he started at the back of the key the other night in their last warm-up game. Barry,
good look inside.
Mario Butler knocks it away, and it's off of Garrett. It'll be Panama's ball.
One of the things that the American team is doing against this 2-3 zone, they're attacking from a little bit down to low. The foul line area is open, and so far Purvis Ellison and Garrett and Robinson, when he was in there, and Danny Manning haven't really found the hole in that zone. You get a little bit too deep, and you play right into the hands of the defense. Nice double team.
Outlet pass to Mario Galvez. Richardson almost makes the steal from Reynolds. Good pass top of the key to Tito Malcolm. But it's tipped away by Pooh Richardson. Now
another
double team trap
Pooh.
again. That's right. Give and go, 3-on-2. Richardson tries to find Keith Smart.
No space right there for Pooh Richardson. He'd been better taking it all the way to the basket. Sometimes you lose your spacing, because when you're getting down closer to the basket, obviously the defense has less territory to cover. Pooh's a little mad at himself. He just cussed himself out a little bit coming back to get the ball, figuring why didn't he take it the length of the court. Going to hold it for the last shot.
Final 10 seconds of the first half. Nice last shot.
And Ricky Berry can shoot it, and there's a good steal.
11 points for Ricky Berry. He is the high point man for the United States. Been a good last 3 minutes for the American team. They trailed by many as 3. They're now up by 11 at halftime, and we'll go back to our CBS Broadcast Center and Brent Musburger.
All right, Vern, a late burst by the United States basketball team. Meanwhile, we've got a gold medal ceremony underway over at the natatorium. Kelly McCormick there, so let's go live to Jim Nance. Jim?
So Kelly McCormick wins the first gold medal here in swimming and diving competition, defending her title from 1983 when she took the gold in Caracas, Venezuela. McCormick with the gold, Megan Nair of the United States the silver, and Debbie Fuller of Canada collects the bronze. Sold out crowd of 4,500 on hand at the Indiana University Auditorium, where later today 5 swimming finals will take place. But the spotlight now belongs to Kelly McCormick. There will be 3 more diving competitions here: the women's platform, the men's springboard, and the men's platforming. It's expected that Americans will collect gold in all 3 of those events as well. Of course, Louganis favored in the men's competition, both events. And in the women's platform, Phil, I guess it would have to be Michelle Mitchell.
Michelle Mitchell was World Platform Diver of the Year and is outstanding and is rounding back into that championship form and should be expected to win here and should be expected to medal, if not win, in the Olympics in '88.
McCormick and Nair have been going head-to-head for over 9 years. And the difference today really came down to 1 dive in the 9th round.
Jim, was one of consistency, and this is very exciting and very encouraging for the United States. Kelly did not miss a single dive. She does that in the Olympics, could end up with the same medal.
Kelly, incidentally, will be leaving soon for the Soviet Union, where a team of U.S. divers will be competing against the Soviet Unions in a dual meet. She says she's looking forward to that traveling experience.
Pan-American Sports Organization, President of the United States Olympic Committee, accompanied by Mr. John McCormick, President of the Amateur Swimming Union of the Americas.
Las medallas serán presentadas por el señor Roberto Manuel, vicepresidente del Comité Organizador de los Juegos Panamericanos, y el señor Juan es acompañado por el señor Juan, presidente.
Kelly, at age 25, says she will compete 1 more year, and when asked about competing past the 1988 Olympics, she said no.
Pretty tough training that they have to go through. They do running, they do aerobics, and everything else to get in shape.
There she is, your gold medal champion, Kelly McCormick. Dr. Robert Hamlet, president of the U.S. Olympic Committee, presenting the gold medal to McCormick. When Megan was pressed about competing next year in '88, she said she wasn't sure, but you have to think, Bill, she has Olympic hopes.
She's pushed hard to make a comeback after not making the team in '84, and I think inside she's looking forward to '88, although on the outside she says nothing's guaranteed.
Debbie Fuller, who pressed the Americans in this competition and collects the bronze. This moment here belongs to Kelly McCormick. So a 1-2 finish for the United States in the women's springboard competition. Kelly McCormick winning, as she did in 1983. Megan Nair collects the silver, and Fuller with the bronze. We'll be back later today with 5 finals in swimming competition. But right now, let's take it back to our broadcast center, and here's Brent Musburger.
All right, Jim, thank you. Meanwhile, for the United States baseball team, they have rallied in the 7th inning. They've put runners on 2nd and 3rd. In fact, they have just broken through on a base hit, and they have managed to tie that game up against the Canadians. So obviously, we're going to be checking in on that 6-6 deadlock. Then we have 1,500-meter activity about to begin in track and field. So still a lot of action coming your way. We're going to take a station break, and we'll be back. But right now, let's break away, and we'll return after these messages from your local stations. We'll be going out to the track and field for action there at 1,500 meters shortly. But first, let's get you up to date on this baseball story now for the United States. They have been trailing Canada all the way. I guess it's appropriate at the Pan Am Games that an athlete by the name of Tino Martinez enjoys a huge day. He's a sophomore down at Tampa. He's had 2 doubles, and moments ago, that single scored 2 U.S. runners, and they are now deadlocked with the Canadians at 6-all. Ferguson Jenkins, incidentally, is the pitching coach for the Canadian team. He has come out and changed pitchers again for about the 2nd time. They are in the bottom of the 7th inning. Let's go out live, and here's John Dockery. John?
And you're right, Brent. Ferguson Jenkins was just out, and he put in a new pitcher. Mike Ross came in for Harold Northcutt, the right-handed pitcher. And we are tied 6-all as you look at the line score here. Canada and the United States, bottom of the 7th inning. And Tino Martinez, as you mentioned, the base hit up the middle to score 2 and tie the score. The bats have come alive for the United States team. At one point in this game, Canada led 5-1 going into the bottom of the 5th inning, but the United States came alive, got 2 runs, and then came back. Right now, it's 6-all here at Busch Stadium, Pan American Games, opening game between the United States and Canada. Mark Marquis, the comeback by the United States team. Something that we talked about earlier being relatively unexpected because they are not a power-hitting team. They do not score a lot of runs. They rely on their pitching, yet with Mike Fiore coming to bat, score tied right here.
The bats have come alive, and the United States looks very good right now, facing a right-hander, which is something new. They've been seeing those left-handers all day.
And the United States has their strongest pitcher on the mound, Chris Carpenter, their great reliever. Mike Fiore fouls the first pitch off.
Fiore's the USA's hottest hitter right now, and he looks very good. Very good balance at the plate, goes with the pitch well. He's a guy they like to have up here. Coach Frazier may be putting something on here. He likes to be very aggressive.
Well, he's been aggressive all game long. That's part of the reason he came back. He ran Ty Griffin in a key situation only moments ago. Martinez not a steal, really a steal threat on first base. And Fiore not with.
Fiore's the best hit-and-run man on the team. May do a little hit-and-run here.
They pitched out. They were thinking
that.
Yes,
that's right. Canada knows that too. They've done their scouting very well.
So it's 1 ball, 1 strike, 1 out. We're in the bottom of the 7th inning, score tied.
Fiore's the type of guy you like, John. He is a tough cookie, blue-collar type player all the way.
A junior at the University of Miami out of Coral Gables, Florida. What a year he had down there. Hit .349, 50 RBIs, a man they like to have up in the clutch.
Yes.
2 balls, 1 strike, key situation. We're tied.
Good count to hit and run here. Good count. Good count.
And when you look at this comeback, Canada led 3-0 after 3 innings. They led 5-1 going into the 5th. U.S. came back.
John, also, Ross is long to the plate. Long delivery time. Good to run on.
There he goes.
Yep.
Martinez.
Yes.
He's safe. And that is the style of this United States team. They will run. They will take chances.
Give Coach Frazier credit. He's really forcing the issue, and it's paying off for him. I think the key there, John, is there he goes. Got a good pitch to throw on the catcher, but the key was the jump and the pitcher. Long delivery to the plate. Stole that on the pitcher, John.
And it did not look, it looked like some kind of a breaking ball. Took a little longer to get there.
Hung up a little bit. But Fiore protected. Didn't hit it, but he protected. Swung through.
All right, man on second base. Fiore protected the runner. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 1 out.
Oh,
wild pitch. Martinez over to third, and you get the sense the United States started this game. They were a little shaky. They made some base running mistakes early, and now Canada having their problems, feeling the effects of the pressure baseball. Watch this.
Ball just slipped out of his hand, I think, John. Got away from him. That wasn't the catcher's fault. That ball just took off on. I think it slipped out of his hand.
Mike Ross, the pitcher.
Now they're going to play the infield there in here. They have to. I think the United States will send them, even when the ball hit on the ground, to the infielders. I think there might be a little collision at the plate here. I think they're going to go all out here.
Even with Martinez, who does not have that great speed.
I think so. I think so. We'll see.
All right. Mike Fiore, the hitter. 3 balls, 2 strikes, 1 out. We're tied. Ross working from the stretch.
He's got to be concerned.
Interesting, the effects that kind of pressure baseball can have on a team.
Normally he'd wind up here. With the infield, should go from the stretch. Good job by Fiore laying off that pitch.
Ball 4, Fiore over to first base. The hitter now, Scott Service, the catcher. Service is 0 for 3, not having a great afternoon.
Service has gone for the first pitch 2 times up, so I look for him to go for the first pitch here.
And the format of competition, 8 teams in Pan American baseball. There you see them on the screen: Aruba, Canada, Cuba, Netherlands, Antilles, Nicaragua, Puerto Rico, USA, and Venezuela. Of course, Cuba and USA, the favorites in the round-robin tournament to decide the team with the best 4 records, who then go on to the medal rounds. Base hit to right field. Service comes through. 1 run scores. Martinez across. Fiore over to third.
He likes that first pitch. He's done it all day, and he jumps on that first one he sees. Outstanding job.
And the United States takes the lead for the first time in this game. They go up 7-6. It's been a long comeback. They trail by as much as 5-1 in the 5th inning. And for a long time, Real Cormier held them hitless, but watch right here.
Right on it. Good swing. Put a good stroke on that ball. Went with the pitch outside. Hit a line drive to right. And as I mentioned before, John, he likes that first. Look at Fiore get over there, huh?
It's a hustling team. He makes things happen. And you must remember that Chris Carpenter is on the mound when the United States comes out to take the field. And of course, Carpenter, 95-mile-an-hour fastball, a fantastic athlete. So the United States has come back. They lead Canada 7-6. We're in the bottom of the 7th inning. We're back. Canada trailing the United States 7-6. Canada, a new pitcher. You know, so many good players have come through this. Mark McGuire, one of those, 37 home runs. Tied the American League rookie record set by Al Rosen, looking to break the National League rookie record held by Frank Robinson and Wally Berger. They both had 38. McGuire on their trail.
When you get a United States team together, they really only have a couple months to get together and to play. The Cuban team, they play together for years and years. I think quite a few of those players have played together for 10 years or more. So they do have the advantage of playing together a lot more than we do.
They may have the advantage, and the United States may have the disadvantage, but right now, as Ted Wood comes up to the plate to face a new Canadian pitcher, Rod Heisler, the United States leads 7-6. We're in the bottom of the 7th inning here at Busch Stadium, the Pan American Games, the opening game. And tell me a little about Heisler. He is the old man on the Canadian staff, another lefty.
Lefty, 30 years old, and they got to be careful here. He's got a great move to first base. The coaches know, the U.S. coaches know about that, but he's got a good one. They got to be careful there. Only 1 out.
Ted Wood, 0 for 2 this afternoon, but what a fine hitter at the University of New Orleans. 393 with 20 home runs.
That's all right. He's on that pitch. He was right on that break. A good pitch by Heisler.
And, you know, against Canada in that 5-game series last week, boy, Wood was one of the hottest hitters, 455. He had a home run, so he's comfortable against the Canadian pitchers. And right now,
he's the guy you want
runners on first and third.
He leads the team in RBIs and home runs. Ooh.
Now that was not a squeeze.
No, that was a bunt for a base hit, and Fiore from third, he was not coming on that, so that was a bunt for a base hit. I don't think it was a good idea at that stage because there was no play on. I'm sure Coach Frazier wants him swinging here. I know he did that on his own.
Well, it's 1 ball, 2 strikes, 1 out. Would Fiore have come if that ball had been laid down?
I don't think so, because he didn't have a jump off third. That was strictly on his own. Ted did that on his own, I'm sure.
Ted Wood against Rod Heisler. Fouled off. And it's interesting, Mark, you have a vested interest in next year's Olympics in Seoul. It's a demonstration sport in next year's Olympics. What happens after that?
Right. In 92, it becomes a full medal sport, but in 88, it's a demonstration, but a big demonstration sport. Baseball is big in Korea.
Who goes from these Pan Am Games?
Top 3 teams.
Okay, and Cuba's guaranteed.
Cuba's there. They're defending world champions.
Wild pitch. Fiore will score. In service, down to second base. The United States takes an 8-6 lead. Take a look at this.
This pitch goes behind him. That had to slip out of his hand.
And I'm surprised that Ted Wood had those kinds of instincts and control. Your first instinct when you see the ball coming is to step back.
Right.
And right there he would have been hit, but he wasn't. And
if it hits him, they don't score the run.
Fiore hustling across the plate. The United States leads 8-6. Bottom of the 7th inning. That's a 4th run they've scored this inning.
Horseman had to be surprised. He couldn't have been looking for that pitch. I just think it slipped out of his hand, as I mentioned, though.
Pinch runner for the United States, Steve Heck, in to run, and Heck, of course, has that good speed. Steve Heck, of course, signed with the Giants out of Tulsa, Oklahoma. Senior at Oral Roberts University. The only player on this team to sign with a professional team, and it's nice they're letting him play in the Pan American Games.
Mr. Bob Laura is very nice for the Giants to let him play for the United States. Nice gesture.
And there he goes.
Stole it easily. Heisler just kind of ignored him, and he stole that on the pitcher.
And you get a sense that he goes. Watch this again.
Picked the right pitch, breaking ball. No chance at third. No chance.
And he's been hot on the tour. He's stolen 15 of 18 stolen bases in attempts and 66 stolen bases in 87 at Oral Roberts University. So this is a man who has good speed and good instincts on the base. You know, last time up, do you remember Lamphere in the 6th inning?
Wow, just missed a home run. This would have tied the game at this juncture. Just foul. We really got on that pitch. Just foul.
The umpire right there, look right there to call it. Larry Lamphere, bottom of the 6th inning.
Umpire was right there. It was the right call. Umpire right on top of it.
At that point, Canada led the game 5-4. That would have tied it, of course. The U.S. has gone ahead 8-6, so it doesn't have much meaning right now. And Coach Ron Frazier playing the kind of baseball that he likes to play. Pressure your opponent.
This is what he likes to do, and it's paid off. And he's put a lot of pressure on the Canadians, and he's rattled them a little bit.
And he's not afraid to go to his bench. You talk to Ron Frazier, and he says, I want to use everybody on my roster, whether it be a pitcher or an infielder. I want to get everyone to play. They didn't make this squad and come on this tour just to sit on the bench.
No. I think Larry Gonzalez is going to pinch hit here, John. Yes, he is.
Larry Gonzalez, one of the catchers on the roster for the United States. Ron Frazier, what a comeback. His team down early, 5-1. Now back leading 8-6 in a game they were expected to win. Opening game of the Pan American Games. Larry Gonzalez, age 20. There it is, catcher for the United States.
Hey, one more, John!
Got 2 outs here now. Need a base hit to score. Well, we get another wild pitch. The United States could score one here. That catcher has to keep the ball in front of him here. Runner on third. Better watch Heck. Third base could, maybe steal home. You never know with Coach Frazier.
We've talked about the United States team being aggressive, but are they that aggressive? has that kind of slow, easy wind-up. He's a left-hander. Although in this situation, when you're leading 8-6, do you risk that kind of?
Well, I think he'll let it be. If he got behind in the count or 2 strikes, he may try it. I don't think he'll do it till he's testing it.
9 drive. Brad Harvey reels it in.
Outstanding job.
So the United States, 4 runs in the bottom of the 7th inning. Here at Busch Stadium, the Pan American Games, they take an 8-6 lead. We'll be back.
Well, a Goodyear blimp view of Indianapolis, and when you come here for something like the Pan American Games, I'll tell you what strikes you right away is the great facilities that they already have in place. Track and field competition over there, of course. Indiana University and Purdue both share that. They've got a great natatorium, and many of these arenas are within walking distance of one another, and I think it's just going to be a marvelous place for the fans for the next 2 weeks to get around and taste the different venues. And with the Pan American Games, I'm always struck by the variety of sports. For example, you've got the baseball. That's always been a part. You've got the ping pong you can go to, or you can go out and watch the field hockey, and you can taste some of the sports that we don't regularly cover, and that's always very enjoyable. Now, a game that does receive a lot of attention, and one in which we should win the gold medal, is basketball. And after a shaky start against some physical play, you can see that the young United States team has taken command there, 52-37, and of course we'll be checking in with that. Track and field always provides some unusual stories, to say the least. I told you a while ago that we were going to go out and check in on the heats in the 1,500 meters. Well, had so many scratches in the heats that they have all qualified for the final on Wednesday night. We do have some track and field action. We have the 100-meter semifinals. That'll be coming your way. Now, the story in the United States baseball activity today, in case you joined us late, is that they trailed the Canadians all the way, and now they have come from behind, and they have taken the lead, and they hope to close in. Now, the Cuban team will play its first game a little bit later this afternoon. We showed a graphic of the 8 teams playing baseball, and I'm sure that some of you said, hey, wait a minute, the Dominican Republic, all of those great major leaguers, they've had more than 20 play in the major leagues this year. Why aren't they playing? Well, folks, that's the reason why they aren't playing. All their great athletes are in the major leagues. Let's send you back now to John Dockery. John?
Thank you, Brent. Thank you, Brent. Brad Harvey up against Chris Carpenter, the man the United States team wants on the mound in this situation. The United States leads Canada 8-6, top of the 8th inning. And Chris Carpenter, future pro, almost guaranteed when you talk to anyone around baseball.
Well, he was a first-round draft pick of the St. Louis Cardinals this past June, and he is a good one.
And you just saw a demonstration of what he does so well. That, friends, is a fastball of 90-plus velocity. 1 out.
Chris Carpenter's approach is, I'm going to throw you a fastball hitter, you hit it. He's not going to finesse anybody. He's going to go right after you, and that's what you like in that short relief guy, and he's got a good fastball to go after the hitter with.
You know, Carpenter is such a good athlete. He's one of the finest punters in college football, averaging 44 yards per kick. I mean, he's got great hang time, 5.5 seconds. It's going to be a hard choice of whether he stays with baseball or goes back to Vince Dooley's football program.
It's a tough decision, but I'll tell you, he's got a real future in baseball.
He's got a future anywhere. University of Georgia, a junior. Chris Carpenter on the mound for the United States.
And that location, you throwing that fastball down there, unhittable.
You know, we're talking about Carpenter, and I asked you before, would he save them? Obviously, he doesn't want to save anything. He wants to bring his ace and the man who can shut the door on Canada.
He's the guy. Yeah, Coach Frazier, if you asked him before the game, Coach, would you take a 2-run lead in the 8th with Carpenter out there? He'd take it. Here he comes, nice form. Now he picks up the plate. Good arm action. He puts everything into it. Look at the concentration. Good concentration. Just missed outside with that one.
1 ball, 2 strikes, 1 out. We're in the top of the 8th inning.
Comes at that right-handed hitter a little bit. Those right-handed hitters lean back on their heels just a little bit with Chris.
You know, what a career he's had at the University of Georgia. He was involved in 50% of all Georgia's victory, either saving or winning. Just a dominant pitcher.
There you go.
Look at the vocation and the speed. 2 outs.
Fastball down around the knees. You're not going to get that. He's just dominating these guys.
And he's got that mentality that you want in a pitcher.
He dominates everything. We faced him in the College World Series, and he was just amazing. We had a pretty good team, I thought, but he just shut us down.
Are you saying you had a pretty good, watch the swing again, just so much speed on Carpenter's fastball?
Not a bad swing. It was the ball was away from that. You just can't hit that pitch.
You talk about location, outside of the plate. Yeah. Are you saying that you had a pretty good team just because Stanford won the College Baseball World Series?
Yeah, well, we didn't look too good against Chris, I'll tell you that.
What was the feeling when your hitters went up against a guy like Chris Carpenter?
I told my pitching coach, don't let him score anymore, that's all. We were ahead at the time when he came in, thank you.
What do you tell a hitter when he's facing a dominant pitcher like this?
Swing early.
Swing early?
Well, you're going to get a fastball, and you just have to go up and take your hacks. Because he's got good control, too. Didn't walk many people.
Isn't that surprising to see a pitcher throw 90+ and still have that kind of control?
It is amazing. Look at that. The thing in the College World Series, what he did really showed me a lot. We got a rainout game, and he pitched the night before and pitched about 2 innings, and we had to come back the next day at noon, and he came back and started again and was throwing just as hard.
1 ball, 1 strike, 2 out. Chris Carpenter on the mound for the United States.
There's his breaking ball.
Livingstone to Martinez, 3 outs. An easy inning for Chris Carpenter in the United States. They lead Canada by 2, going into the bottom of the 8th inning. We're back, bottom of the 8th inning. The United States leads Canada by a score of 8-6. They came back from being down 5-1. And one of the coaches for Canada, you might recognize this man, Ferguson Jenkins, 19 years in the major leagues, 284 career wins, over 3,000 career strikeouts. Cubs all-time strikeout leader. And Ferguson Jenkins today in the dugout for Canada, their pitching coach.
Great pitcher.
And he's hoping that Rod Heisler, his crafty lefty, can keep the United States in tow and that Canada can come back. Ferguson Jenkins, the pitching coach for Canada. I'm John Dockery, along with Mark Marcus, and we're at Busch Stadium, opening game of the Pan American baseball competition, the United States against Canada. Mark Marquis, of course, you're still gloating over that World Series, College Baseball World Series victory over Oklahoma State. You are the champions. Well, and next year, of course, the Olympics, and you're interested in this competition here because we are a demonstration sport in the next Olympic Games in Seoul.
Right, and it's important. We have to finish in the top 3, and if we want to make it to Seoul, we have to finish top 3, as I mentioned, and we have a good chance to do that. We're going to do that. The United States is got a strong team, and I think they should be able to do it.
You know, Mark, as we look at this competition, of course, Cuba, the dominant team, a mix of veterans and young talent. Not dominant pitching, but a team that knows how to win 7 of 9 gold medals in the Pan American Games. Can this young and aggressive United States team hope to compete and win the gold after a 20-year drought?
I think they can, John. Again, because of the pitching. They got the great pitching depth. Olsen wasn't sharp today, but he's a good one, and he'll come back.
Olsen will come back. Of course, they have Carpenter. They have depth in the pitching staff. I'm not so sure they have a great hitting lineup. My thought, when I think about it, an analogy might be made a foul ball.
Just foul.
To that American ice hockey team. Remember Lake Placid, the youngsters against the veterans, these guys, the baseball team here, you know, underdogs again, but feeling they have a shot to beat Cuba.
That's a good analogy. It's just about like that, because Cuba is the real favorite here. Strong veteran team.
And they are on their home turf here in Indianapolis at Busch Stadium.
Advantage for the United States. Get some friendly fans. It will help the USA.
Well, right now they lead by a score of 8-6.
Livingstone's hanging tough here, this left-hander. Got him to a full count. Livingstone basically a pull hitter. Ooh, I think he went for it.
All right, he's out. So
he did swing.
Scott Livingstone, third baseman, heading back to the dugout. Rod Heisler, the crafty veteran pitcher for Canada, left-handed pitcher, and you have to wonder if Ferguson Jenkins and the pitching coaching staff of Team Canada would do it differently. They brought in Mike Ross. He had problems. He's a right-hander. Now they come back with Heisler. He's holding his own against the United States. And, of course, the United States has had their problems against left-handers in their tour, 36-game tour leading up to the Pan Am Games. They won 28. They lost 8 games, and 6 of those games were to lefty pitchers.
That's right. But the Canadian pitching coach, Coach Jenkins, it was right-handed hitters they were facing, so I don't think it was a bad move. It just didn't work out, but I can't second-guess him on that.
This is the right fielder, number 9, Rick Hertensteiner from Ventura, California. Ooh, almost hit by that pitch. A sophomore at Pepperdine in Malibu.
Rick was the man that got the 4-run rally start for the United States in the bottom of the 7th. He got the base on balls, did a good job.
And wouldn't Ferguson Jenkins love to have the staff that Ron Frazier has in the United States, the Carpenters? And of course, we haven't talked much about young Jim Abbott. Of course, Greg Olson started this game, had some trouble early, went 2 2/3 innings, gave up 3 runs, 5 hits. Wasn't as sharp as we expected, but right now the United States has come back from a 5-1 deficit, and they lead in this opening game of the Pan American Games by a score of 8-6. 3 balls, 1 strike, 1 out. We're in the bottom of the 8th inning.
Fergie's done a great job with this Canada pitching staff. They beat the United States 3 out of 5 last week, and he's done an outstanding job. They know how to pitch. They move the ball in and out.
Well, it's interesting what their objective was here. They didn't really expect, talking to their coaching staff. Ooh, base hit inside the line.
That's a double at least.
Hertensteiner going for 2. Ground rule double. The ball went under the fence out in left field, so it's a ground rule double. But I was just saying that when you look at Canada, when we talk about Cuba, so dominant for so long in amateur baseball, 3 decades, no one's really touched them, except maybe for the team that you played on back in 1967. Here's the replay.
Fastball went down the line. Well, it was right down the middle of the plate. Went with it down the line. Good speed. Rick's got good speed. Might have had a triple on this. Might have been to 3rd.
Ty Griffin, the batter, second baseman, number 14, switch hitter, 19 years old, from Tampa, Florida, sophomore at Georgia Tech.
John, Ty has hit the ball as well as any of the American players today. He's hit the ball on the button 4 times. I think he's only got 1 hit, but he's put a good stroke on the ball each time up.
And they appealed down at first base. It was denied. So Hertensteiner is at second base. We have 1 out. Bottom of the 8th inning. Griffin at the bat. Strike 1.
They can't ignore Hertensteiner at second. Heisler a long time to the plate. He could take off for 3rd here. Coach Frazier's not going to call off the dogs. He's going to keep the pressure on.
That's the way he expects to win baseball games here at the Pan American Games. Pass ball again. Problems. And Hertensteiner hustling around third base. Holds up. And the Canadians have had their problems. They've had 3 errors in this game. 6 runs, 8 hits, 3 errors. Let's look at the replay again and see what happened.
Ball in the dirt. That's a tough play for the catcher. That ball took a funny hop on him, went over his right shoulder. Horseman, good effort. He was down in position to block it, but it took a funny bounce on him.
It looked like, and here's Hertensteiner rushing around third, thinking about maybe scoring. It looked like the ball might have hit the front of the plate and bounced up over Horseman's head. Heisler on the mound, Griffin at bat.
Good pitch.
Ooh, outside corner. 1 ball, 2 strikes, 1 out.
Infield in here. Good position for Ty. Get that drawn infield. Good chance to shoot the ball through it.
Well, Team Canada doesn't want to get any further behind. They trail by 2. And they face Chris Carpenter, the ace reliever for Team USA, when the U.S. takes the field.
I believe Hertensteiner from third will come, even with the infield in on a ground ball. I think he's going to, Coach Frazier's really going to try to score here and put the pressure on the catcher to make a tag at the plate. We'll see. You saw the catcher there try to play little games with Ty. Moved inside to make Ty think he was going to come inside, pounded his glove a little bit, then moved outside, trying to play a few mind games with Ty. He didn't fall for it, though.
You know, I look at Ty, second baseman, switch hitter, not that Willie Randolph is, but I get a sense he has that kind of ability.
A lot like Willie.
A lot like Willie, a take control guy, confident of his ability. And that's what the scouts say about Ty Griffin. They say as he goes along, he's only a sophomore, as I mentioned, 19 years old at Georgia Tech, but down the road you have to think of Ty Griffin as one of the pro prospects on this USA team.
Most definitely.
3 balls, 2 strikes, 1 out. Ball 4.
John, that was a great job of hitting, laying off that. That's a tough pitch to lay off of. Ty's had a great day. He really has.
You know, down the road, of course, we talked about the depth of the pitching staff, and there's Jim Abbott. Of course, a lot of you know the story about Jim Abbott, born without a right hand. He is a lefty pitcher for the United States, and an excellent one. Carried the flag in the opening ceremonies yesterday here at the Pan Am Games from Flint, Michigan, a sophomore at the University of Michigan.
He's a starter, and the United States has to count on Jim. He's one of their main starters.
And one of the more dominant pitchers for the United States team. There's a move to first.
There's that good move. He's got a good one. I think it's a balk move, but those umpires, they don't like to call balks on left-handers.
And Jim Abbott will definitely be in the rotation. The United States upcoming on Tuesday. They face Venezuela. On Wednesday, it's Nicaragua. Friday, it's Netherlands Antilles.
Well, I think
called off. And then next Saturday, the big game, the United States against Cuba. So there will be plenty of room for Jim Abbott to get out on the mound and work for Team USA.
Well, Jim will start the second or third game depending on whether it's a right or left-handed team. He's going to start either the second or third. Coach Frazier told me yesterday. There's that move.
Griffin, of course, a threat to steal, an excellent base stealer.
This is where the United States can put a lot of pressure on the opposition. Right here, first and third, they got the guys who can run.
And there he goes. Throw back to the pitcher. All right, Griffin in with the stolen bases. And what can you say about a guy who steals 39 bases in 42 attempts at Georgia Tech this year? You know the percentages are with you when you send Ty Griffin.
Oh, yeah. Well, that was a smart play by Canada. They weren't going to throw him out, and they were hoping that they'd throw the ball back to the pitcher and catch a guy off third. But Hernandez did a great job at third. He wasn't fooled. Infield in, John.
Dave Silvestri, the hitter, the shortstop. The United States leads by 2. Bottom of the 8th inning.
John, I believe if I was Team Canada, I'd have Heisler go from the stretch here. It gives the guy at third too much of a jump from the windup.
And there's that fake we talked about, third base.
Good pitch. But when you go from that windup, that runner on third, he's got a chance to wander down that line and get a real good jump on because he's coming here. On any ground ball, he's going to the plate. And I would prefer that my pitcher to go from the stretch here.
1 out. Hernandez on third, Griffin on second. The U.S. leads by 2. Ground ball. They're coming home for Hernandez.
Ooh, good play.
And he's out.
Bang play at the plate, but he did get him. I believe he did anyway. Good play by the third baseman. Watch Rick here. Hernandez. Good walking lead. Hesitated just a fraction of a second. And I think it probably cost him, John. If he saw him hesitate just a fraction as the ball was hit.
And Larry Downs, the catcher, with a good tag there. But Ron Frazier, that's the kind of baseball he wants. He never wants a runner to be guessing, well, should I go, shouldn't I go? It's always in his mind, if you have the opportunity to run, we're going to take it.
He's going to be aggressive. He's going to live or die with it. That's his style, and give him credit. He's staying with it.
As we watch Tino Martinez at the plate, first baseman, perhaps the best hitter on the U.S. team, can the United States, with a lineup like they have, with the pitching strength that they have, deal with Cuba next Saturday?
They can, John, if they get a good pitching performance. If they don't get a good pitching performance, no. I don't think they can beat the Cubans. They have to get a good pitching performance.
And you expect that Olsen will come back in that game?
I would expect so, but you never know. If somebody has a good outing Tuesday and doesn't throw many pitches, he could come back. They've got a lot of pitching depth, but Olsen would be my bet.
Well, next Saturday here on CBS, we'll see the Cubans, team that has dominated amateur baseball for 3 decades. We'll see them against the United States right here at Busch Stadium. Tino Martinez at the plate. 2 out.
A great play, John, is Silvestri on that play at the plate. He ended up at second base. That's an outstanding job of running. Threw the man out the plate, but Silvestri just kept on running, went to second.
Fouled off by Martinez.
You know, John,
runners on second and third. We're in the bottom of the 8th inning. The United States leads Canada by a score of 8-6. Yes, Mark, sorry.
John, I'm very impressed with Tino Martinez. He is just a good hitter. He's tough to fool. Good clutch hitter. He's only got 7-8 strikeouts for the whole summer. He's a tough out. With
reasonable power. Hit 25 home runs at the University of Tampa. Good athlete. Nice stroke.
Hanging tough on this lefty. Eisler's got a good breaking ball. Griffin at third base. He's going to look for that breaking ball in the dirt. He may have a chance to try to score in a short pass ball with 2 outs.
And I would have to think that Ron Frazier, the American team coaching staff, has to be happy with the way Olsen got off. Canada led 3-0 after 3. They led 5-1 going into the bottom of the 5th. The U.S. came back, finally took the lead. They lead by 2 now.
Well, it helps that good job of hitting.
We talked about it. Bat control, base hit, 2 runners score.
The key, John, is he doesn't overswing with 2 strikes. He stays within himself, makes contact, doesn't overswing with 2 strikes. Great job of hitting by Tino.
And the United States takes a 4-run lead. They now lead by a score of 10-6, bottom of the 8th inning. All right, now let's go back to Brent Musburger at the CBS Broadcast Center. Brent?
All right, John, thank you. We want to go immediately out to Dick Stockton and track and field. They're getting ready for a heat in the 100 meters. They've just had a false start, a little wind out there, so take it away, Dick.
The Indiana University Track Stadium, Massback, and we're ready for the semifinals in the men's 100-meter race. And the world and American record held by Calvin Smith of the United States 4 years ago, and Leandro Penalver of Cuba, who set the Pan American Games record. He'll be in the next heat. Mark Witherspoon, who beat Carl Lewis in the TAC championships in this event with a great time of 10.04, will begin from lane number 5.
Okay.
He's one of 2 Americans. His big challenger, though, will be Raymond Stewart of Jamaica in lane number 4. Lee McRae of the U.S. is in lane 7.
Watch for a fast start from McRae. Witherspoon and Stewart have good finishes.
McRae struggled this morning, and it's a fair start. And it's Witherspoon, a very close race. And it's Witherspoon and Stewart, and it's going to be close. Stewart and Witherspoon in a very tight finish, and it's going to be Lee McRae third. So McRae of the United States, and down on the track is an injury, and it's Mark Witherspoon, who has suffered an injury. He tumbled after the finish.
Could be just a cramp, Dick, that sometimes happens in the 100. He looks so good throughout the race.
What I want you to do is just lay there for a minute. Did you feel it cold?
You can see from the start of the race, as we get the replay, that he came out very well out of the blocks. At 6 feet 3 inches tall, he's not expected to be a good starter, but he immediately puts pressure on Raymond Stewart to his left, the guy in the yellow shirt there. He seems very strong and fluid throughout the race, even though it's Stewart who comes through to win at the end. Winning isn't the thing that's important in these races. It's to qualify for the final. But you see, as he comes across the line, he lost control and simply fell to the track.
And immediately grasped his right knee. Raymond Stewart of Jamaica, one of the great sprinters, and here they are, Stewart on the right and Witherspoon on the left. Here's how they got started.
And it's great to see these 2 young sprinters, guys who may be the world's fastest human in the future. Both of them have great form. All the motion is forward, very, very smooth, and you can see as he leaned there, just too far as he leaned at the tape. We got to hope that that leg comes around.
And Witherspoon is being helped up. He is shaken up right now, and the time, 9.89. That is a wind-aided time. We have had tremendous gusts of wind for our winner, as you see him here, Raymond Stewart of Jamaica, under the world record. Over 4 meters per second, but it's wind-aided, but that's a record. A wind-aided record of 9.89. Stewart of Jamaica. Witherspoon comes in second, and Lee McRae of the United States finishes third, and that's important because the first 4 finishers will advance to the finals. The Americans have not won here in quite a while. It's been 5 Pan American competitions that the Americans have not won the 100 meters. But this has got to be a very tough break for Mark Witherspoon here. The last American winner was Ray Norton in 1959. And we'll keep you up to date on the injury to Mark Witherspoon, who comes in second to Raymond Stewart in this heat in the 100 meters. And right now, let's go back to Brent Musburger at the CBS Broadcast Center.
So Raymond Stewart of Jamaica with a win in that heat. And again, as Dick said, we'll be sending you back out to check on Witherspoon's condition. Wilma Rudolph, a great track and field star, will be with us later this afternoon, and we'll have an interview with her. We're also going to be sending you out to the basketball arena where the United States is closing in on a win against Panama. That's an update on the score at the moment right now. We'll have the final score in baseball for you, and we will send you back if the Canadians rally in that. And we'll have our first gold medal awarded in swimming coming up a little bit later today. That's all still ahead of us on our live coverage of the 10th Pan American Games from Indianapolis on CBS. We'll pause for a moment. The United States right now is just 2 outs away from defeating Canada. They enjoy a 4-run lead out there, so we'll keep you up to date on that. Meanwhile, let's send you out to Vern Lundquist and Billy Packer in basketball. And Vern, my question for you is, how did the United States team come back against this group of Panamanians? It was very close at the early minutes.
Brent, I think it was really just superior talent that finally told. They adapted a little better to the international style of play late in the first half and went on a 23-5 run. And they're now well in command with 3:27 to go. 75-59 is our score. The USA had hit 43% in this half. Panama is now committed to 18 turnovers. David Robinson has 11 points and 11 rebounds, and Danny Manning leads all scorers in the game with 18 points and 5 rebounds. Both of those players playing, however, with 4 fouls. And it really has been kind of a coast for the USA, Billy Packer, in this half.
Well, one of the things, if you're taking a critical look at the United States team, they do not have like a fireball-type ball player. What they have is a team that's extremely talented, and they fire themselves up in 2 ways. One, when they get in the running game, which as you just saw right there with Pooh Richardson. The other, they seem to really fire up when they go into the full-court 2-2-1 full-court press. The rest of the time, they're rather lethargic and just count on their talent to whip. This is what they want. Wild, full-court game, everybody moving.
That pass from Pooh Richardson to Willie Anderson from Georgia. Let's update you on the quintet that's on the floor right now for the American team. Richardson and Anderson are joined by Rex Chapman, Purvis Ellison, and Ricky Berry. Mario Butler has the ball now for Panama. It was 44-33 at the half. We've got 2.5, 2:35 remaining. USA will play Argentina here tomorrow afternoon. As we said, it's a round robin for the 10 teams in divisions of 5 each in the first round of play.
Good passing. That's beautiful passing. Purvis Ellison getting in there. Pooh Richardson, Ricky Berry, who got the original rebound to start the break. Really filling the lane there, and a good job by the United States team. One of the things that every one of these kids on this ball club, with the exception of maybe Dean Garrett, have great hands, and they look to make the pass rather than the shot. And that's one of the things that Denny Crum likes about this team so much. It's very unselfish.
Ricky Berry will be at the line. We had a chance to not only watch this game, but also watch some of that baseball game, USA and Canada. That was a heck of a game.
Well, I saw that Larry Bird look-alike left-hander for Canada, and America just kept slapping the ball to left field. A nice piece of hitting, as what Tony Kubek and those fellas say.
I liked what Kelly McCormick said, too, at the diving competition. She landed on her head 10 times, and it was a perfect afternoon. We thought we were going to have a little bit of that here. Not intended in basketball.
Yeah, the object is to land on your feet in basketball, and we had guys landing on their head early. As a matter of fact, in the case of Jeff Lebo and Fennis Dembo, neither one of them have come back in the game since they were injured.
84-59 at the 2:20 mark. Ricky Berry gets a rest. Keith Smart back in the lineup now with Willie Anderson, who knocks it out of bounds. It'll be Panama's ball.
You know, if anybody picks up tempo, particularly on the defensive end, it's Keith Smart. He comes in there with that tremendous quickness and leaping ability. Here you see him attacking, trying to get a double team. Very difficult guy to throw the ball over. Good quick hands. Powerful leaper. Bad shot, and here he goes.
Here comes Keith Smart, looks toward Ellison, puts it up himself. Ellison gets the rebound.
And again, people grasping that ring, no calls made there, an international ball, but when that ball touches the rim, as opposed to the college game, it's free game both for the offense and the defense to go up there and either try to bat it in if you're on the offense or bat it away if you're on the defense. And now we have Purvis with a slight cut on the lip. He'd be smart to stay out there because Denny Crum has a lot of people he can go to on the bench. And we've had Butler from Panama has had a cut on his foot, on the top of his head. Purvis wisely goes back out on that court. It's just a cut lip. That's not going to prevent him from playing. It's kind of interesting on the floor right now. We have the last two MVPs of the NCAA tournament. Both first-year players, although Keith Smart was a junior college transfer, his first year in Division I ball, and for Purvis, everybody remembers the year before being the MVP down in Dallas.
Ellison now with 8 points in the ball game. There's Keith Smart, launcher of the shot that defeated Syracuse and Jim Boeheim.
Here's that 2-2-1 full court press. This team runs it very effectively. As a matter of fact, it would be tough to play against this team the full game going against that press.
Turnovers even up.
Purvis trying to make a play before he caught the ball.
This is Henry Grinnell, number 5, who has the ball for Panama. Braulio Rivas, number 7. And a foul called underneath on Willie Anderson.
Rivas has a nose for the ball. Now, Panama basketball is a major sport for them. Most of their players play, the top players play in Europe for 6 months a year, and what we would consider as a professional player. And then they come back and play 3 months a year in the Puerto Rican League. This past year, Butler's team won the Puerto Rican League. And of course, Frazier was the MVP a year ago. So they're almost year-round ball players, similar to what we would consider being NBA players.
Substitution you saw is number 9, Carlos Roxia, this 19-year-old forward for the Panamanian team. And Braulio Rivas at the line. They are not a good free throw shooting team.
No, they're not at all, and that's kind of surprising. Of course, in talking to some of the coaches, the facilities are not the best in terms of getting an opportunity to play in Panama with the court facilities, but still you would assume they'd be pretty decent free throw shooters. Technique's not bad, they just don't seem to have the concentration for it.
Nice pass from Anderson to Keith Smart underneath for 2 more.
There's Smart again with a tremendous leaping ability. He and Rex Chapman, they don't ever worry about it. When they go inside that lane, they just go up to whatever height that's necessary to get the shot off. Smart again causing trouble defensively.
Grinnell takes it to the line, lays it off for Roxhead, and he gets 2. Final 63 seconds of the first round game. The U.S. grouped in a pool with Mexico, Argentina, Venezuela, and Panama, and they play the Argentine team tomorrow. That's an interesting story because Argentina was thought to have one of the better teams here. However, we've been told that 6 of the Argentina players playing on the team that won the South American Championship objected to the lack of payment that they were to receive, and they went on strike and didn't make the trip.
That's right, and that's the same Argentina team that beat our club last year in the World Championships. Puerto Rican team that'll be here primarily is the same club that only lost by 1 point to our club in last summer. But it's kind of interesting when you consider what the international governing bodies, the only people that play professional basketball are in the United States. The Continental League, the NBA. Anybody else can play and play for money, and they're not considered professional.
Brazil has a guard named Oscar, who just signed a $1 million contract to play in Europe, in Italy, yet he's an amateur by the rules.
A little bit too fancy.
And a foul shot forthcoming now for Dean Garrett. Busy week for the United States team. This is their first game, of course. Tomorrow afternoon at 1:30 Central Time, they take on Argentina. Then on Wednesday, Mexico. And on Thursday, they round out the first round of competition by taking on Venezuela. That is a process to seed for the medal round of play. The other 5 teams in Pool B in men's competition are Brazil, Puerto Rico, the U.S. Virgin Islands, Uruguay, and Canada. Uruguay and Canada play here next.
So we saw Denny, and sitting beside him, of course, Jerry Jones, his assistant, and Judd Heathcote, who's been the live wire on this ball club, the head coach at Michigan State, won the national crown in '79, and was an assistant coach in the previous Pan Am game when they won in 1975, where he assisted Marv Harshman. So Judd's had a great deal of experience. There's the brain trust of the United States team.
Jerry on the left, Denny in the middle, and Judd Heathcote on the right.
Judd, of course, Magic Johnson's coach in '79.
And neither team has been hitting free throws with any kind of frequency today.
The United States came in shooting 60-some%, but primarily that was caused by David Robinson's 6 for 20.
23rd turnover for Panama. Richardson, baseline move by Willie Anderson. And Ellison can't complete the play. Gets frustrated and fouls in the backcourt.
Purvis can't believe he missed that dunk. But you don't get many uncontested dunks in international ball. So the United States goes to 4-0 against Panama in their history. You know, back in '79, when the United States won under Bobby Knight down in Puerto Rico, and obviously a historic Pan Am games, particularly in the state of Indiana.
Right.
Panama gave them the toughest game. It was 88-83, and they led most of the way against that club led by Isaiah Thomas. And the team that eventually won the gold medal, beating Puerto Rico in the final game. Butler getting that head attended to. Played a good first half, particularly defensively. Kept David Robinson off the boards, did a good job in the 2-3 zone.
Final shot of the game coming up, perhaps. 4 seconds to go.
Anderson looking to make the pass.
This will be the first time in 4 games that the U.S. has not been above the 100 mark. Against the pros, they were over 100 all 3 times. There's a battle-weary Jeff Lebo. Ricky Berry, who had 16 points in the victory today, as the United States team wins its first game, 91-63. Now let's go back to Brent Musburger in our CBS broadcast center.
Good luck.
Thank you. And so the United States basketball team wins its first game. Now for the baseball team today. Twice they were behind before they rallied in the last 3 innings to defeat the Canadian team. 10-6 was the final. And the United States next will play Tuesday against Venezuela. So their last pitcher, Chris Carpenter, out of Georgia, picked up the win. This was the final out of the game. Carpenter is a #1 draft choice of the St. Louis Cardinals. He still has not decided as to whether or not he will sign a professional contract or return to Georgia. Interesting story involving that particular young man, and that he is also a punter for Vince Dooley and the Bulldogs. And we'll come back. We'll have more track and field, and also we're going to check in on the United States soccer team from these, the 10th Pan American Games in Indianapolis, right after these messages from your local stations. Denny Crum, he's won 2 NCAA championships at Louisville, yet seldom does he receive the kind of credit that he deserves for the job he has done down there, and perhaps what he accomplishes with this Pan Am team will draw the focus to a much deserving coach. He's standing by with Billy Packer. They have won their first game today, so let's go out to Billy now.
Denny, anytime you're in a tournament, you can't get to that second game unless you can win that first one. I thought the club came out a little tight at first, but a pretty nice zone by Panama early on.
Well, Bill, that was the first zone we've faced this year. We played for a minute or 2 against a couple of the pro teams, but nothing to speak of. And they played it well. They were well prepared, and it gave us a lot of trouble, especially in getting second, third shots. We didn't get any that first half, and they did a nice job with the rotation on the zone, and we hadn't faced other than in practice, and we're not a zone team, so we didn't really face anything that resembled the kind of zone that they played. And they're an experienced team, and I thought they played about as well as they were capable of playing. And our guys got off to a little bit slow start, but after we got going a little bit and got used to the physical aspects of the game, which international competition is physical. There's no such thing as a foul away from the ball. You can bump and knock and shove, and so it was good for us to get that first one under our belts.
You know, one of the things that I noticed, the personality of this club, a lot of the kids are kind of like passive kids. You don't have that rah-rah type guy, but when you go to that 2-2-1 full court press, it looks like that picks up the intensity level for their players.
Well, you know, the funny thing about it is we've been working real hard on pressing after made free throws. Well, when you only shoot 50-some% from the free throw line, you lose a lot of opportunities, and our free throw shooting's not been good. It hasn't been good since we put this team together. So that really hurts your pressing game. But when we press, it does speed up the tempo of the game, and it forces the opponent to play the way we like to play, takes advantage of our talent, and we need to do more of that, but you got to make those free throws to be able to do it.
Well, good win, and Argentina comes up tomorrow. Good luck in that ball game. And Brent, here's the winning man. We'll take it back to you.
All right, Billy, thank you very much. So the United States basketball team will draw Venezuela next, just as the baseball team will a little bit later in the week. Now, ahead of us here this afternoon, we've got a big hour and a half left for you. We're going to give you a full rundown on the medals. Then we're going to go back and review yesterday's very colorful opening ceremony out at the Indianapolis Speedway. And the woman who lit the torch, Wilma Rudolph, will be with us. We also have swimming and track and field coming your way. And we're going to check in on a sport that doesn't receive too much attention, except that we've got millions of youngsters playing it. And that's soccer. The United States takes on Trinidad and Tobago today. We're going to check in on all of that when we continue live from Indianapolis in just a moment. Check in on some of the results now that we have had from this busy opening day of the Pan American Games. Again, we have 38 countries and 30 different sports, and it all began this morning with the men's marathon. And the favorite, Rodrigues of Brazil, came through and won the gold medal. Now, when it began today, there was a light drizzle following here in Indianapolis, but the weather held for the runners. We had a field of 18 men and 11 women. Rodrigues of Brazil quickly moved to the front alongside Jorge Gonzalez of Puerto Rico. Now, meanwhile, it was a group of 3 Latin women taking a 2-minute lead over the Americans. And the American women competitors, Deborah Warner and Kathy Meditar. Now, Rodrigues finally made his move in the city. He did slip and fall, and got back up, though, and took command over Gonzalez of Puerto Rico and Lanzoni of Costa Rica. And then he really turned it on. Watch him finish here in the last 1,000 yards, and he won the first gold of these Pan Am Games in 2:20 and 13. For the women, it was Mary Carmen Cardenas of Mexico. She came home in the time of 2:52:06. While the American Deborah Warner captured the first U.S. medal of the Games. She finished second in 2:54:49. And it was Cuba capturing the bronze medal in the women's competition in the marathon. Now, men's kayak and the United States winning another medal there. It was Norman Bellingham on top with Cuba and Canada. And this is the first medal ever in this event in the Pan Am Games. And Bellingham is from Rockville, Maryland. In the men's canoe single, again, it went to the United States. Jimmy Terrell. After that, it was Canada and Cuba. In the women's kayak single, Tracy Phillips of the United States won still another gold medal for the U.S. Men's kayak double, 500-meter final. Again, this went to the United States. The team of Mike Herbert and Terry Kent capturing that gold. Men's canoe double, however, Cuba broke through and captured the gold there. Canada with the silver and the United States with the bronze. Women's kayak double over the same distance, and it was the United States. It was Shirley Derry Batlick and Sheila Conover, and a time a little over 2 minutes there. Cycling women's road race, Rebecca Twigg Whitehead of the United States winning the gold medal for us. We also captured the silver, and Canada came away with the bronze. Roller skating, men's 300-meter finals here at the Pan Am Games, and Argentina won its first gold medal of these games, with the United States settling for a silver. In the women's 300-meter final, Beth Tucker of Boulder, Colorado came through and won the gold medal for the United States in that. In the field hockey, the prelims began today, and the United States team defeated Bermuda by a score of 3-0. Now the weightlifting finals got underway, 52 kilos. The United States was not entered in this competition, so as expected, it was Cuba winning the gold medal. It was Juan Hernandez who came through, and he did it in very impressive fashion. Here he is lifting 127.5 kilos for a total of 227.5, a gold medal for Juan Hernandez of the Cuban team. So a quick summation of the medal standings after our events at this moment on the first day would look something like this. The United States has dominated the gold so far. That's as expected with 8 gold medals, and Cuba now solidly in second place with 4. We're going to come back and we'll be checking in with some of the athletes out at the Village. We'll take a look at yesterday's impressive opening ceremonies, and we'll hear from Wilma Rudolph when we continue in just a moment. Frequently, we tend to overstress who wins how many gold medals and silvers in any kind of an international competition, actually. But really a large part of something when you get countries together is having the athletes mingle with one another and communicate, if you will. And our relations with some of the Latin American countries not the best, and perhaps we can improve it just on a little man-to-man, a woman-to-woman basis. And out now with the athletes out in their villages, Pat O'Brien. Let's go live to Pat.
All right, Brent, thank you. Thank you very much, and well said. You know, this is a good place to mingle, and we are indeed in the international village of the Pan American Village, here about 6 miles outside of Indianapolis. They have vendors from all over the city. This happens to be a pizza vending. John Macri's Pizza. John, how you doing? They're sitting here watching the Pan American Games. We're going to give you a little tour of the village. As I said, they have about 12 vendors from all over Indianapolis. Big fella's ribs right here. We'll grab some on our way out. They try to get as much American kind of food and international flavored food as they can here. They have popcorn, they have ice cream, they have corn dogs, Italian sausage. These are elephant ears. Just done. I mean, none of this stuff looks very healthy, but it's a place where the athletes can come. There are events here all day long. For example, earlier today, they had some models here, and they had a program for all the athletes who enjoyed it immensely. They were up there screaming. We are on Fort Benjamin Harrison, one of the smallest Army bases in the United States. We'll get to that in a little bit. America would not be complete without a souvenir stand, and we are here. This is where the athletes can come and spend good old American dollars. There's a bank down the street. Brent, you talked about soccer. They sell a soccer ball here with all the flags from all the athletes on it. What does this go for? $20. $20. They have mugs here. Gold medals, fool your friends at home. Here's a gold medal you can buy for $5.
I haven't got one.
As a nice souvenir. And this is $25. How's business, Glenn?
Fine.
Good. The village here is really, as Brent said, a place to mingle. It's a good place to mingle. There's maybe 1 or 2 stalls that are open. You want to open a business in Indianapolis, here's a good place to do it. The Adidas has a center. Their #1 selling shirt here is what? I guess the rugby shirt? Is that what you say? $40 for this. And the athletes, or the people here say the athletes are buying these and taking them home. Want to get your hair done? Here is Glenn's tech, or Van's tech team. I'm sorry, Van, how you doing? This is where the athletes come to get their hair done, and they feature something here called hairspray that is guaranteed in a tornado. So if you want to run, in the tornado, or if you want to just run and compete, put the hairspray on your head, and your hair won't get messed up. They speak a lot of languages in there. How do you say a little off the top? Un pequeño, yeah, okay. 2,500 soldiers usually live on Fort Benjamin Harrison. They are off the base, and 6,000 athletes, including about 3,000 support personnel, are here during the time of the Pan American Games. One of the sponsors of the Pan American Games, Target Stores. Here are some people who have come to spend their afternoon, well, spending money. Here you can buy T-shirts and records and cassette decks and piñatas, and they even sell cigarettes here. Why, I don't know. Wrangler jeans is a popular item here. They have a whole wall of junk food here, which is selling, believe it or not. We're going to move up a little bit. We were telling a little bit about Fort Benjamin Harrison because if you have anything to do with the Army, if you've ever gotten an Army payroll check, or if are you a veteran and still getting a check, your check comes from here. Hi, guys. How you doing? I forgot to mention the Indiana State Police are running the place while the Army is gone. $28.1 billion in disbursements last year from this place. As I say, if you got anything to do with the Army, if you sold them a tank or whatever, the money came from here. As you can see, the village is really a kind of a beautiful place. It's over 100 acres here on the fort, and the athletes can come here. They can go to a modeling show, as we saw.
Is that just me? All right, unfortunately, I think we lost the end of Pat O'Brien's audio out there, but I think we get the gist of what he was doing, taking us on a tour of the village. And that village was really under incredible pressure when the athletes first started to arrive in Indianapolis. And I'm sure you have read by now that there was a shortage of beds and they've had to scramble. And now the story has been put together. It wasn't so much the athletes that they weren't expecting, but it was all the coaches and the support personnel who needed some of the extra rooms. And I'm sure by now that they have figured out how to solve that story. Some of the American athletes, by the way, even doubled up and gave up one of the floors out in their particular dormitories, which was a nice gesture on their part. Well, we're going to come back and take a look at the opening ceremonies. I hope you were able to catch part of it yesterday, and we want to hear from a woman who lit the torch. One of the greatest women athletes this country has ever turned out, Wilma Rudolph, and we'll have that in just a moment. Well, already well into the heat of our first day of competition, it certainly seems like yesterday's opening ceremony is but a distant memory, but what a memory that still is. James Brown has another look at the largest outdoor show ever staged in the United States.
High noon had come and gone at Indy, and still not much was happening on that famous track. But on the other side of the wall, on the huge infield, it was quite another story.
The Pan Am Games. It's a catchy tune. Yeah! Yeah! The Pan Am Games. It will be here soon. Right now!
Relying on thousands of volunteers from all over the Midwest, Walt Disney World had choreographed this fiesta of costumes, colors, and characters to entertain the crowd of 80,000. It was an ambitious undertaking for such an inexperienced crew.
I haven't been anything like in theater or anything. The only thing I've done is cheerleading or gymnastics. Which really is no big deal.
I think I'm excited more than anything else, but once I get out there and see all those people, I'll probably be scared to death.
Out front, the folks were amusing themselves with stunt cards. And even after those waves of excitement died down, the entertainment continued, leading up to the really big show. Ironically, the only people at the Speedway not allowed to view this spectacle were the guests of honor, the athletes of the nations themselves.
Yeah, I'd love to be seeing that. I'd love to be seeing that.
Among the flag bearers waiting patiently for his part in the show was America's Jim Abbott. Abbott overcame a congenital deformity that left him with one normal arm to become a college baseball star at Michigan. His inspirational story certainly makes him worthy of the honor his team bestowed upon him.
Heck, they just told me yesterday afternoon, so I'm just kind of taking it a step at a time and kind of anxious to get out there.
Abbott didn't have long to wait. Once Mickey and his colleagues cleared the stage, it was time for the measured and orderly pace of the procession. But not even the Magic Kingdom can control events, for as the Parade of Nations moved slowly out front, back here, it was another story. Unexpected gaps in the procession line appeared, and suddenly everyone had to hoof it just to keep up in place. It's a good thing these are the best athletes in the hemisphere. Otherwise, some delegations might still be out there. By the time they reached the entrance to the track, order had been restored. And from there, it was time out for a momentary pause. And then on into the Speedway and their moment in the spotlight. While every country was politely received, some Americans couldn't resist the temptation of waving the flag in front of the Cuban delegation as it headed in. But other than that, there were no incidents. The U.S. as host nation went last, and the crowd gave them its best. And George Bush said, "Let the games begin."
I do solemnly proclaim open the 10th Pan American Games in Indianapolis, Indiana, in the United States of America.
Finally, it was time to light the Pan American torch. First onto the Speedway with the flame was Oscar Robertson, a gold medalist on the 1959 Pan Am basketball team. The Big O dished it off to little Christy Phillips, a 15-year-old gymnast on this year's squad. She, in turn, passed the torch to Wilma Rudolph, another former Pan American star who went on to win 3 gold medals at the 1960 Olympics in Rome. Order of business, at least according to protocol, was the releasing of the Peace Doves, who seemed just a bit reluctant to get going. Meanwhile, backstage, Oscar Robertson caught up with an old friend.
I didn't die.
As the White Doves took wing, all was well, and the program came to a conclusion with dancing and fireworks. Even as the spectators started filing out of the speedway, many stayed and danced on. As a matter of fact, let's give a special gold medal to the Brazilians in the team Samba category.
Wilma Rudolph, that had to be a tremendous moment for you, especially when you're selected in your home country like this and you've won medals in the Pan Am and then the gold medals in the Olympics. Great feeling for you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Fantastic day for me.
But Wilma, are you ever concerned when you're involved in something like that? Gee, I don't want to do anything. I don't want to trip when I'm going up the steps. Did you get a chance to rehearse that or not?
Well, we walked through it yesterday morning, you know, just to know where we're supposed to be. But to run it, actually, no. The enthusiasm really started for me when Oscar's name was announced and he went through. And then my adrenaline stopped flowing and I was a frantic, nervous wreck for a moment.
I really felt sorry for Oscar. Did you see how far they had him run?
Yes,
and then he didn't see Christy at first, you know, because she's so tiny and he didn't dish the torch off right there. Well, what are you doing right now? What I know you're coaching somewhere.
Right. Well, I'm the track director at DePaul University and consultant to the president on minority affairs. And, of course, one of my pet peeves is the Wilma Rudolph Foundation that I started in Indianapolis 7 years ago.
And how is that progressing, and what does that do?
Wonderful. The first 5 years we ran athletic programs, and then we added the educational portions. And now with DePaul University, we're looking to add internships through DePaul University, some special classes for students that are graduating, and just to enhance our program at DePaul and around the country.
Well, I'm sure that you sit and watch today's athletes. How would Wilma Rudolph have fared against today's track and field competitors?
No fair. Of course, I would say Wilma Rudolph would win. I mean, that's just an automatic thing. But, I mean, we're comparing the modern era to an era where we didn't have all the facilities, and of course we didn't have the best tracks, the tartan tracks and the lightweight shoes and all those kinds of things. So 25 years later, I feel very good about my accomplishments because I was running basically some of the same times they're running now.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
All right, Wilma, thank you very much, and again, a marvelous job. I know everybody enjoyed watching you yesterday.
Thank
you.
you.
Steps
Thank
like
you.
that torch. For the next 2 weeks, that will burn over track and field, and we're going to check in out there with our Dick Stockton when we continue with our coverage of the 10th Pan American Games in just a moment. Field venue, a sprinter, Mark Witherspoon, pulled up and had to be carried off, so I'm sure we'll get an update on that story and others. Let's go out live now to Dick Stockton. Dick?
Thank you very much, Brendan. Welcome to the first day of activity in track and field at the Indiana University Track and Field Stadium. Dick Stockton along with Craig Masback, and it has been kind of a less than ideal day, I would say, Craig, because among other things, the men's 1500 semifinal was scratched because there were only 13 entries and 12 will run in the final, and we had a problem in the women's 100 meter because a Colombian young lady who had qualified was not in there. So it's been kind of a rocky start here, wouldn't you say?
Sometimes takes a while to get off the mark on these kinds of international competitions, but things are running smoothly now, and we've seen some good action already.
We have had a lot of action, and of course a tough break for one of the American sprinters, as we'll show you in the 100-meter race. And it was Mark Witherspoon starting in lane number 5 and Raymond Stewart, one of the outstanding Jamaicans. And this was in one of the semifinals. The Americans have had problems winning, and now this was a real tough race. Raymond Stewart is going to win it, but watch the story of Mark Witherspoon of the United States, who beat Carl Lewis. He falls right there.
We know sprinters reach a top speed of 25 miles per hour. Witherspoon's a tall guy, and I think when he leaned at the tape, we'd heard earlier that he'd had a twinge in his muscle earlier this morning. When he leaned at the tape, I think he had a problem with that hamstring.
Witherspoon had beaten Carl Lewis in the TAC championships here. This is a tough break for him. And for more on that injury, let's go down to the field and Irv Cross. Irv?
Dick's a tough injury indeed. Mark Witherspoon suffered a severely pulled hamstring to his right leg, according to the medical staff here, and was taken over to Indiana University Hospital for further treatment. He's finished as far as the Pan Am Games are concerned, and there's some question as to whether or not he'll be able to come back for the World Games in Rome later this month. Of course, the man who won that race, Raymond Stewart, was running right next to him. And what did you sense when Witherspoon went down?
Basically, he was trying to stretch, trying to lean the last 5 meters of the race. But, what I was thinking best for him to do is, just go through the motion, and I think that would be more comfortable for him. He wouldn't end up hurting himself that way if he just, relax and just go through the motion just like that.
Well, there's a lot of great Jamaican runners, as we well know, and you're one of them. But can you continue to beat the Americans as 100 meters here in the Pan Am Games?
Right now, as far as things going for me, that's the way I would like it to be. I've just got to take things one step at a time, and then basically I will be in good shape, knowing that I'm totally confident of myself going into any race, meeting any American and race against them.
Okay, thanks, congratulations. Oh, by the way, Witherspoon said he felt his muscle pulling 5 meters from the finish, Dick.
All right, Irv, thank you very much. And you can see we have had wind all day here, and we've had clouds and sunshine right now. In heat number 2 in the semifinals in the men's 100 meters, and it was all the Cubans. They have won actually the last 3 Pan Am Games in this event. The defending champion Leandro Penalver starting in lane 4, and Andre Simon, another Cuban, in lane 6. Craig?
We haven't seen Penalver very much ever since the 1983 games in Caracas, but you can see here he's the one that takes control in the middle of the race, runs like a European. It's the Europeans that coach the Cubans, and he was an easy winner.
Juan Nunez of the Dominican Republic came in 3rd, and Andrew Smith qualified. These were the finals in heat number 2, the standings: Penalver, Simon, and Nunez. And so the Cubans awfully tough here, and they will advance along with the others. So here are the people who will compete in the men's 100-meter finals. Scratch Mark Witherspoon. So we will not have Witherspoon. No one will take his place. And Lee McCrae out of the University of Pittsburgh of the United States came in 3rd in his heat, and after a sluggish qualifying run in the morning. And these are the others who will compete in the men's 100-meter dash. And for Juan Nunez, he was disqualified because of the drug problem at Caracas after being the runner-up in 1983, and he will be in the finals. And so the finals in the 100 meters will be tomorrow night here in Indianapolis. So that's the story here in track and field. Let's go back now to Brent Musburger at the CBS Broadcast Center. Brent?
All right, Dick, thank you. Already we have awarded a gold medal in diving today. Kelly McCormick of the United States winning that. And we will also award our first gold medal in swimming. That's coming up. Right now, let's take a break and have these messages from our local stations. We think of Indiana as a basketball state, and certainly there is Hoosier hysteria over that sport. But through the years, they have also loved swimming. Dr. James Councilman has done a great job at Indiana University. Mark Spitz was a competitor there. We have got the women's final coming up in the 100-meter freestyle. Let's go out to the natatorium, and here's Jim Nance. Jim?
Well, we are getting set for our first swimming final. It'll be the women's 100-meter freestyle. Expectations are high for this American team to win a great majority of the swimming events and the gold medals. Working with me, of course, is the 4-time Olympic gold medalist John Neighbor. And John, really one of the toughest golds for the Americans to claim could be right here in this first race because of a young lady by the name of Sylvia Pole.
No question about it. She's got to be the brightest star on the sport of swimming's horizon that I have seen in 10 years. She has got the body, she's got the mind, she's got the stroke, she's got it all.
Well, this morning, to tell you a little bit more about Sylvia Pole, she set a new Pan Am game record in the preliminaries, 56:10 for Sylvia Pole, breaking Cynthia Sippy Woodhead's record from 1979. So Sylvia Pole of Costa Rica is the favorite in our first competition, the women's 100-meter freestyle.
That was her best time by 0.5 of a second, by the way, so she's really hot here.
And she's hoping to turn that down, in fact, into the high 55s and come even lower. She thinks she can in this final, which is coming up. To find out more about Sylvia Pole, let's meet this young lady at 6'2", who comes from Costa Rica. At age 16, Sylvia Pole is a national hero in Costa Rica. She has 2 years of high school remaining, and at 6'2", she has been a dominating figure both in the pool and out. Last year at the Caribbean and Central American Games, she won 10 gold medals, and now is thinking about going to college and swimming in America.
I hope I get maybe a scholarship in the United States, because I know it's one of the best countries where I can swim and study at the same time. And I already have gotten a few offers, but I'm only studying them until now.
Well, Sylvia Pole, the athlete of the year in her country last year. She has a chance for as many as 5 gold medals, but the college plans will have to be a couple of years away because, as mentioned, she's still in high school. Now, what about the American chances against her in this 100 free?
It's not a task that I would envy going up against Sylvia Pole, but there's 2 Americans who have that responsibility. The youngest swimmer on the American squad, 14-year-old Jenny Thompson, full of enthusiasm, a raw talent. Coaches aren't sure exactly what to tell her to do because, you know, she's new at this game. They just want to let her do the best job she can. And then, of course, Sarah Linka, one of the more mature athletes on our team. She's been around. She's dropped out for a couple of years and just now getting back into it.
All right, Sarah Linka at age 23 is the comeback swimmer of the year on this U.S. team. She quit after the '84 Olympics, and now she's come back with a whole new attitude.
You know, when I was swimming before, it used to be a negative pressure. It was almost a fear. And now it's not at all. I want to get up there and race. I can't wait for the meet to start. It can't start soon enough. And I'm really excited for it. I really want to get up there and race and do well. And I'll just do the best I can right now.
Well, now the Americans know about Sylvia Pole. As you can see at the bottom of your screen, she set the new Pan Am record earlier today. The world record set last year at the World Championships. We saw Kristen Otto there, John, win in Madrid, and a new record of 54.73. How important is it early for the Americans to set the stage, set the tone for the events here?
Well, I think that neither American swimmer expects to win this race, but there's going to be 2 of them flanking either side. You're looking at Sarah Linka, the more mature athlete. You can count on her to move in as close as she can to Sylvia Pole and draft on her as much as she can. She'll be in lane 3. And between her and her other teammate, there's the tall woman, Sylvia Pole. She's from German descent. Both her parents were from Germany. She's 6'2" tall. That body is going to give her a psychological boost merely standing on the starting blocks. But the hard part is going to be the turnover. Can a body that tall have a rapid turnover?
And here's Jenny Thompson at age 14, the youngest swimmer on the U.S. team. She's out of Dover, New Hampshire. She'll be a freshman this year at Dover High School. Just a raw talent, and the coaches expect she could be the biggest surprise at next year's Olympic trials.
Indeed, if there was one swimmer on this team that would make the Olympic team next year, I'd have to say it's Jenny Thompson.
So they'll be in the middle of the pool. Sylvia Pole in lane 4, Sarah Linka in lane 3 from the United States, and Jenny Thompson will be in lane 5.
Just look at that attitude. There's keen concentration, a slight attitude of hyperventilation, get herself physically ready, but you don't see any emotion on that at all. That's almost like a machine, and in fact, that's what her coach calls her. He calls her a machine. Anything he tells her to do, she does.
Well, there are your lane assignments. And you see again, the main action will be right in the middle. Linka of the United States, lane 3. Pole in lane 4, and Thompson in lane 5. Lane 1 at the bottom of your screen, lane 8 at the top. The women's 100-meter freestyle final.
Start is very crucial in a sprint like this.
This will be 2 laps, up and back, and a good start for Sylvia Pole in lane 4.
She comes up right to the surface. You see her in the middle with the long wingspan. She's swimming a little to the right of her lane, flanked by the Americans on both sides.
Sylvia Pole went out this morning in 27:31, and she's out in front now as she's ready to touch the wall at the 50-meter mark.
Already with a half body length lead, considering the size of her body, that's a quite substantial lead. A fast flip, the two Americans in the next two places. You notice on lane 3, you see Sarah Linke moving over, trying to draft on her. She went out ahead faster than she did in the morning split, so the record, the Pan Am record of 56.10 is in real jeopardy.
It's Sylvia Pohl of Costa Rica going for the first gold medal in swimming ever for her country here in the Pan Am Games. She's in front. And it's Jenny Thompson in lane 5 trying to pull up for the silver. It'll be Thompson and Linke going for the silver. Pohl has won the gold. Sylvia Pohl has claimed gold number 1 here in the swimming.
That's a wonderful response. That's just a delightful response. Her time, 56.39, is not a new record, but it was a well-swum race. When you're 6 feet 2 inches tall, it's hard to keep your turnover going quickly. And that's what a sprinter has to do, is keep the arms rolling.
Sarah Linke has won the silver for the United States, and Jenny Thompson at age 14 has won a bronze. But the first swimming final goes to 6'2", 16-year-old Sylvia Pohl of Costa Rica. We'll be back to hear from her in just a moment. So the order of finish, Sylvia Pohl of Costa Rica claims the first gold medal ever in swimming for Costa Rica in the Pan Am Games. 56.39, a little slower than this morning. But the silver and bronze go to the United States, and a few fans here cheering on Sylvia Pohl. And judging by what I've seen, John Neighbor, she's going to be awful tough to beat in the women's 50 and 200 free as well.
Very cool head, very controlled stroke. She is going to be a force to be reckoned with.
All right, coming up in a few minutes, the final of the men's 100-meter breaststroke. Right now, let's go back to Brent.
And still ahead of us, we're going to hear from Teresa Edwards, one of the stars on the United States women's basketball team from the University of Georgia. That team an overwhelming favorite to win a gold medal. They'll start on Wednesday night. And the coach of that team, Judy Conrad, who's enjoyed such great success with the Lady Longhorns of Texas, also here, and a pitching coach from the Canadian baseball team, a fellow by the name of Fergie Jenkins, will be dropping by as we continue with our coverage in just a moment. The United States men's basketball team came away with an easy victory after a sluggish start. They pulled away from Panama, and they won 91-63. Next up, of course, will be the women's team, and that on Wednesday night. Let me first start off by apologizing to Jody Conrad. Frequently, I have called you Judy, and I have got to get that straight in my mind. And one of her stars, Teresa Edwards. Teresa, you graduated from the University of Georgia. You were a member of our Olympic basketball team out in Los Angeles. That was a great team. Is this team nearly as good coming into these games?
I think this team is a lot up-tempo team. It's a lot faster playing team, and it's a lot funner to play on this team because I put in more time.
Oh, I would say that the competition is going to be in trouble. Billy Packer said you'd probably fare very well against some of the men's teams. I don't know about that, but Jody, what do you do as a coach coming into a Pan American and international competition? You don't have scouting reports on some of these countries. How do you mold together a group of stars like Teresa?
Well, I try not to do too much because obviously they're very good players, and this team has played together before. Last summer, the nucleus of this team defended the World Championship and the Goodwill Games, so they have some experience. I think it's going to be a fun team. We have to be cautious not to take our competition too lightly.
Teresa, is international competition as physical for the women as it is for the men? I say that simply because there were guys with patches all over their face after that U.S.-Panama game earlier.
It's just as physical, and it's like that the entire competition time. The whole time it's just as physical, and play seems to get rough. The official seems to let a lot go that you usually don't let go.
Well, let's roll up a piece of highlight tape here on Teresa. And Jody, what will she do for your team this year?
Well, you talk about quickness and you talk about speed, and then you talk about Teresa Edwards. I've never seen a player who had the kind of physical talent to get up and down the floor the way she does, and we certainly want to utilize that. And you're going to see Teresa Edwards running out in front of the pack just like she's about to do here because she has that kind of ability and that kind of body control.
Jody, some of the other countries that might give you some pressure in this tournament would be who?
Well, we're sitting in a pool with Brazil, and they're a very good team. You know, in sports, when there's a player who goes by one name, first name only, that tells you about that player. Hortensia from Brazil is a great, great player. We know they have a good team.
Okay, Teresa and Jody, good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks for dropping by this afternoon. We will continue with our live coverage of the 10th Pan American Games from Indianapolis on CBS in just a moment. Well, gymnastics figures to be one of the U.S.-Cuba flashpoints, if you will, at these Pan Am Games. And earlier this afternoon, our Tim Brand and Bart Connor ventured over to the Pan Am Village to check out the mood of some of the American stars.
It is a very relaxed atmosphere here today at the Pan Am Village, far removed from the competition. And hello again, everybody. I'm Tim Brand, along with my colleague and gold medalist from the '84 Olympics, Bart Connor, and his former teammates who are participating here in the Pan Am Games, Scotty Johnson and Tim Daggett. Tim, let's start with you. You woke up this morning with a sore throat, and you are coming back from a career-threatening neck injury. Will you be 100% Wednesday when the competition begins?
Well, as for my sore throat, that really isn't going to bother me too much. But my neck is something that I'm going to have to deal with probably for the rest of my career. It was a pretty serious injury where I ruptured a disc in between my cervical vertebrae 4 and 5. And it's coming along each day. I'm feeling a little bit stronger, and hopefully by Wednesday I'll be 100%.
And now, Scotty, you've been, of course, training with the U.S. team in Colorado Springs for the last couple of weeks. You know what the U.S. team's strengths and weaknesses are. But in the last couple of days, you had an opportunity to see the Cubans. Can you compare the two teams?
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, we did see the Cubans yesterday at the gym during training, and they did bring their strongest team, and they look pretty good. But the difference that I see is that the United States is going to be a little bit more consistent. The Cubans are throwing some very difficult skills, and they'll have a tendency probably to miss a little bit more than we would. And we're going to go in there with a lot more confidence, I think, in that we are going to play a little conservative and make sure that we're 100% confident in what we're doing, and I think that's going to put us ahead, because we're going to be a little more consistent than they are.
The toughest thing right now, I would assume, is the waiting, because the competition does not start for a couple of days. Let's go back to 1983. The Cubans did send a strong team, won the Pan Am Games down in Caracas, but the United States came back and said we did not have our strongest team there. Here, it is the nation's best. No excuses this time. How much pressure does that add?
Well, a little bit of pressure, that's for sure. This is a different team than we sent in Caracas. This is our top team, the top group of guys that we're hoping to represent us in Seoul, Korea in 1988. And I really feel that as a team, we've come together in the past few months really, really well. We've had quite a few training camps, different things where we're just getting out and doing things together, and we're becoming closer and better friends. And because of that, I think you'll see a lot of working together on the competition floor, and I think it'll affect our performance.
All right, guys, so the competition begins Wednesday with the compulsories. Right now, it's a waiting game and mental gymnastics. Brent?
All right, Tim, thank you. And speaking of the gymnastics competition, I want to remind everybody that our coverage of the competition at 1 Eastern time next Saturday will include certainly a look at the gymnastics, what's unfolding there. Cuba will be playing the United States in baseball next Saturday afternoon, and of course we'll have track and field coverage. We're going to check back in with track and field when we continue with our coverage from Indianapolis in just a moment. Well, to give us an idea of what to look for in the next couple of weeks of track and field, let's go back out to Dick Stockton. Dick?
This is the track and field venue where the competition is concluded this afternoon on the first day of competition, and we had the semifinals and qualifying in the sprints, but everyone is looking to the horizontal jumpers, including Willie Banks, who 2 years ago here on this very track in Indianapolis set the world record in the triple jump. A tremendous event and tremendous thrill for Willie Banks. 58 feet 11.5 inches, and of course Willie Banks getting a big challenge these days from Mike Connolly, and right down on the infield with both of them is Irv Cross. Irv?
Well, you just said you want to go ahead and touch virgin territory. 58 11.5 isn't far enough for you?
Not really. I mean, when we're Americans, we go by the footage, and we want 60 feet. That's really the goal, and once you've gone 58 11, you always look forward to something bigger and better.
Mike, you've been proclaimed as the greatest double jumper of all time, both the long jump and triple jump. Would you specialize in one of the two?
Well, not really. I have great success in the long jump, and, hopefully I can be called a specialist in both of them one day. Maybe if I jump 59, 60 feet, well then I'll be the greatest triple jumper of all time instead of this guy.
No, wait a minute.
That'll
come after me, right?
You guys take it easy. Right? You'll get a chance to go head-to-head shortly, but what do you expect out of the field? What kind of competition do you think you'll see?
Well, I think there's going to be some good competition coming from the Bahamas and Frank Rutherford. He's an outstanding jumper, big guy. And then we have not too many more people after that. It gets real weak, doesn't it, Mike?
It may end up being just between us three, jumping at each other. There's a guy from Canada, Edric Florell. He's down in Arkansas with me, and he trains with me some, and he'll be jumping out there pretty.
Okay, so there are 3 great triple jumpers that we'll see, and 2 of them right here. Dick?
All right, Irv, and of course Mike Conley is expected to give Willie Banks the great challenge, and of course the world champion. Now, Mary Decker-Slaney, as we said yesterday in our preview, that Jackie Joyner-Kersee is here, and of course the event for her is the long jump, and looking particularly to try to set an American record.
I think that she would like to set an American record, but however, I was talking to her husband, Bob Kersee, just a few minutes ago, and he said that she's feeling good, but at this point, she wants to see how the competition goes early on, and if she's feeling really good without risk of injury or, you know, interfering with the rest of the season, then she will go after the record.
All right, and the Sullivan Award winner is also here down on the infield with Irv Cross, and right now, let's go to Irv.
Well, Jackie, why just one event? You know, the heptathlon started this morning. You weren't there. You know, why have you decided to pull out of that?
Well, with the World Championship being at the end of this month, I'm looking for this meet here just to be a stepping stone. At this meet, I'm going to start working on my sprinting, my jumping, and I'm going to train through this meet and also try to get out there and perform well in the open long jump.
How important are the Pan Am Games to you? I mean, is it something that you really want to do well in?
Yes, the Pan Am Games means a lot to me because this is my first one, and it could be my last one. And especially.
Hey, wait a minute. Why not? Why would it be your last one?
Because the next one in 1991 is supposed to be in Cuba, and I don't know if I want to travel over there. And after that, I'll probably be too old. So.
Well, listen, you'll never be too old, Jackie. Dick.
All right, Irv. Tremendous athletes, Jackie Joyner-Kersee, Mike Conley, and of course, world record holder Willie Banks. Right now, let's go back to Brent Musburger at the CBS Broadcast Center. Brent?
All right, Dick, we're about to have some action over at the natatorium. The men's 100-meter breaststroke coming your way when we continue here on CBS in just a moment. Costa Rica a short time ago. Let's see who winds up with the gold in the men's 100-meter breaststroke. Here's Jim Nance.
This morning in the preliminaries for the men's 100-meter breaststroke, the Americans finished 1-2. And again, they'll be in the middle of the pool for this event as the Americans look for their first gold. World record is held by Steve Lundquist, and he set the Pan Am record a year earlier in 1983 in Caracas. Now, John, what about the Americans in this race? David Lundberg and Richard Korhammer, as we take a look at Korhammer.
Richard Korhammer's got a mind that's clearly set on winning this race. I mean, he just oozes confidence. He's a strong, calculated thinker with a very unorthodox stroke for men. But David Lundberg is a guy I swam with 10 years ago. This guy's been around. He's 26 years of age. He went to school for a year, took 2 years off to do his mission for the Mormon Church. He came back at Stanford, swam for the final 3 years there, and he's been on a national team consistently ever since then.
Well, now you see the lane assignments. Korhammer will be in lane 4, Lundberg in lane 5. Does that mean you could still be competing, actually?
I doubt that seriously, Jim. Certainly not in the breaststroke, anyway. 2 lengths in the pool to go. There really aren't anybody else in the pool who can challenge the 2 Americans for the gold medal unless there's some amazing upset. I mean, their preliminary times show the rest of the field a full second back, and the 2 Americans have a full second to drop in order to approach their personal best time. So if the Americans do what they're supposed to, no one should touch them.
Darcy Wallingford of Canada in lane 3 went out in the first 50 meters quite fast this morning, but again, he was well back of the American pace.
David Lundberg, we call him Provo because he came out of Provo. Here's your Canadian, Darcy Wallingford.
Okay, lane 1 again is at the bottom of your screen. Lane 8 at the top. Keep an eye on Korhammer out of Princeton University in lane 4, and Lundberg in lane 5. A false start by Wallingford of Canada. This morning in the prelims, there was one race where we had
it was Wallingford.
Several of them.
Wallingford, the Canadian, jumped twice. Every time there's a false start, it's charged against every member of the field. The third one, you're out. So right now, everybody has 1 stroke against them. If you get 3, you're gone. Canada uses this technique to hold the rest of the field on the blocks. So we might even expect another false start just to make sure nobody is rolling.
As you take a look at David Lundberg getting set to go back to the blocks, he must feel comfortable here. He was on a Stanford team that won 1 of its 3 consecutive national championships, and of course the Stanford men's coach Skip Kinney is the coach of this team here at the Pan Ams.
So there's no reason not to do well at this pool with this coaching staff at this time of the year. Provo Lundberg getting ready to go. Korhammer with the black swim cap. He's an entrepreneurial type, very smart. I predict another false start. I hope I'm wrong. Well, I saw somebody rolling, but maybe it didn't count. In the water they go. And you can expect the two Americans to touch about 0.5 of a second ahead of the rest of the field at the turn.
Split time before the race. Lundberg said he'd like to go out in under 30.
Lundberg's in the white cap leading a little bit, and boy, look at that turnover. You see the difference in strokes. Korhammer with the black cap, you see his feet rising to the surface, a lot of undulation.
Again, Darcy Wallingford of Canada in lane 3 is also right there.
And first to the wall, it looks like David Lundberg.
Lundberg in under 30 as he had hoped, 29.83 for Lundberg. Now it's Lundberg and Korhammer pulling away a little bit from Wallingford.
Now look at the stroke, look at the control. Lundberg in the white cap leading, sort of rising a little bit, whereas Korhammer is bobbing, undulating through the water.
It's the two Americans going for the gold. Lundberg in the white cap, Korhammer in the dark. It's Korhammer by a bit. As they come to the wall, it's Korhammer with the gold. Lundberg will settle for the silver.
Korhammer really turned it on off the wall. Everybody was expecting him to get to the wall first. He did not. Lundberg took it out just exactly the way he wanted to. And you can watch on the finish as the two come back to the wall. You can see that Lundberg in the white cap, Korhammer in the black. And look at the kick in the black. Korhammer's feet coming out of the water are sort of with a dolphin action, a real nice undulation. And he put in 3 quick strokes to get to the wall first. Very smart tactical race for Korhammer.
21-year-old Richard Korhammer out of Easton, Pennsylvania.
And on the start of the race, it looked to me a little bit like there was just a bit of hesitation somewhere in the field. You can see the white cap towards the top of your screen. You see him bobbing back in. You can't tell too easily. In fact, the official said there was no false start, so that's the way it goes. Fair race.
So Richard Korhammer has won the first gold medal for the United States in swimming here at the Pan Am Games. And we'll be back in just a moment.
The Cubans' first game against the Netherlands Antilles underway. No score, top of the first inning. Cuba at bat. But meanwhile, let's take you a few miles north of Indianapolis to Carmel, Indiana. Table tennis is taking place there, and let's go out live to James Brown. James?
All right, Brent. As a matter of fact, some very exciting action taking place here. Right now, there are 12 women's teams in the team competition here in Carmel. And right now, out on the table are the 2 teams from the Dominican Republic in the blue and Peru in the red. This is the 5th and deciding match, and it's all tied up. As a matter of fact, let's take in some of the action between these 2 countries. On the women's side of the action, the USA is the #1 ranked team in this competition, with Cuba, Canada, and Venezuela following. And again, in the blue, we have the Dominican Republic, and the team in the red is Peru. First day of action has gone pretty much as expected. There was some morning competition, some afternoon competition. All the top seeds have in fact advanced. There will be some evening activity as well. On the men's side of the action, the top 4 seeds are Brazil, Canada, the Dominican Republic, and Jamaica. The USA is ranked 5th. And as I mentioned, on the women's side of the action, the USA team is ranked #1. And that about does it from here in Carmel, side of the table tennis action.
All right, James, thank you. And when we continue, we're going to check in with Dave Silvestri, who homered for the United States baseball team today, and he did it against the Canadian national team. Fellow in the other dugout wasn't too pleased with that home run. You may remember him, Fergie Jenkins, pitching coach. We'll have that when we continue with our live coverage in just a moment.
CBS Sports coverage of the 10th Pan American Games is sponsored by...
Well, 10-6, the United States defeated the Canadians in the opening baseball game earlier today. But that score doesn't tell the story of this game. Canada jumped out to a 3-0 lead. Then it became 3-1. And finally, Canada made it 5-1 on this 2-run homer by Jim Kotkes. And for a time, it appeared as though the American team might lose its opener for manager Ron Frazier. But with the score tied at 6, the U.S. went ahead for good on a single by Scott Service. And then they came on to win it 10-6. The final score in that game. One of the heroes for the American team, if you will, is with us now, and Dave Silvestri over on my far left, and the pitching coach for the Canadian national team, Fergie Jenkins, who spent 18 years in the major leagues. And Fergie, it's nice to see you back in baseball. I know you've got a goal for this Canadian team. What is it that you would like to accomplish with them?
Well, they really haven't got that much credit with their ability and playing ball in Canada, and I'd like to see some of the Canadian youngsters that do play get an opportunity possibly to sign professionally, because we do have the ability and we do have the personnel.
Fergie, does this team have the talent to go to the Olympics?
I think they have. We have some strong pitching. We've got some very young pitching, and I think between now and next year there's going to be other youngsters try out for the ball club, and I think the main thing that they have to do is they have to learn and think while they're pitching. Your impression of the American team today? They have very strong hitting. They have some pitching too. I think that they're well balanced. We're going to play them again, I hope, before the week's out.
Well, one of their strong hitters is Dave Silvestri from the Show Me State, and he showed him today. Hit a home run and a double. And tell me about the home run, Dave.
Well, it was fourth inning, 3-1 pitch. I was just looking for a fastball to drive, and just hit it where the wind was and took it out.
The mood in the American dugout as you came up was how? Was the team down, having trailed Canada by 4 runs? What was the feeling?
Well, we lost three games to them in the series we played with them, and we just needed something. We just needed a big boost to get over that little hump there, and I think that home run kind of did it for us.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That home run perhaps ignited the team. Now, you were also down in Havana. You managed to win 2 games down there. Your impressions of the Cuban team?
They're a very strong team. They're beatable, I think. I think we have the team that could beat them, and I'm looking forward to us and them being in the final game, the gold medal game.
Fergie, the differences at this level, the aluminum bat, for example, how does that change the game?
Well, the ball travels probably an extra 50 or 60 feet, and once you do make contact, it gets through the infield pretty quick. So you have to have fairly good gloves in the infield and speed in the outfield. If the ball's up in the strike zone, it goes a long way.
Have you seen the Cuban team play yet?
No, not as yet. Just some of this filming that we have.
Yeah, when do the Canadians play the
Probably Thursday or Friday.
Or Thursday or Friday. And you play, the United States will play them on Saturday, and that, of course, will be one of the major events that we will be covering here on CBS next Saturday. So, Fergie and Dave, thank you very much for dropping by.
Pleasure.
Good luck the rest of the way. I think you'll meet again.
I hope so.
All right, we'll continue with our coverage in just a moment. The Cubans have exploded. Top of the first inning, they have scored 4 runs already on the Netherlands Antilles. And you know, from time to time throughout our coverage, we would like to share with you some of the impressions of various individuals in and outside of the sports world concerning different aspects of these 10th Pan American Games. Today we're going to be hearing from Germán Rios, a native of Caracas, Venezuela, who helped produce the 1983 Pan Am Games on Venezuelan television. Now, he came to Indianapolis shortly thereafter to study telecommunications and became a sportscaster on the Spanish language stations in Chicago and New York. And in his guest essay, Germán Rios tells us how they brought a Hispanic touch to the Hoosier heartland.
Hi, I'm Germán Rios. I'm studying in the Indianapolis International Airport, where I first arrived 6 years ago from Caracas. Didn't know a word of English, and I'm sure that's the main concern for the South American athletes that are coming to participate in the 10th Pan American Games. Buenas tardes. Yo hablo español, necesito ayuda. ¿Cómo hago para ir a comprar en la tienda?
And you're part of it.
From my own experience, I was asked many times, do you speak Mexican? Fortunately, there were some Pan American officials who did speak Spanish. ¿Hablas español?
Sí.
Necesito su ayuda. ¿Cómo hago para salir del aeropuerto?
Bueno, por la puerta.
Por la puerta. ¿Cuál
Sí.
puerta?
Abajo. ¿Y quiere acompañarme?
But there were other obstacles. This bank did not exchange South American currency. ¿En bolívares? ¿No tiene? Quiero cambiar dólares a bolívares.
We don't speak Spanish either.
A big adjustment for the athletes will be food, where to eat. These restaurants will not exactly remind them of home. But this might. The city market has a distinct international flavor. And it's that international mix that makes the Pan Am Games such a special treat.
The people, they were nice, and the shopping was so fantastic.
De outros esportes que a gente normalmente não tem contato lá no Brasil.
I am delighted to be here, not only with the athletes from my own country, Brazil. We all get together, and it's very important. We have a lot of fun sharing our sports by talking about it.
I've seen people that I've met before, like 4 years ago, Pan Am Games, and I've seen them now, and they see the change. Well, how you grew and stuff like that, so, and meet new people too.
For the next 2 weeks, this village will be the home of the greatest athletes of Las Americas. Not only will be competing together, they will be sharing their culture and lifestyles, which I think is very important about living in the United States. That's what made me a Hoosier from Venezuela. The city of Indianapolis is part of me, and I hope will be part of all the athletes who are competing in los Juegos Panamericanos, the Pan American Games. Bravo! Perdón, ¿habla español?
No.
¿No hablan español?
No.
Necesito ayuda. ¿Quién me puede ayudar?
Pardon me?
¿No habla español?
No.
Gracias. Muy gentil.
We could probably find an interpreter for you if you need it.
No entiendo.
I'm a little embarrassed. We could probably...
I know exactly how he feels whenever I travel. I'm always looking for people who can speak English, and then I feel so much for these Latin American athletes who come here, and we don't have too many folks who can handle Spanish, but somehow you will find that they will make out, and certainly the organizers of these particular games have been as helpful as they can be, and we'll hear some different perspectives throughout our coverage of the games. Speaking of a different perspective, a sport I always like to check in on is soccer. Now, a young United States team that has not qualified, I guess, for the Olympics or the World Cup is out playing against Trinidad and Tobago. We want to take a look at that when we continue with our coverage in just a moment. American soccer team off to an impressive start against Trinidad and Tobago, and let me bring in a gentleman who certainly knows a lot about this particular world game, and that's Jerry Yeagley, who has been the soccer coach at Indiana since 1963. You've won a couple of NCAA championships, and while the rest of us have been tasting all the various venues, you've been locked up in there watching the soccer very carefully. Jerry, how has it unfolded so far?
Well, it's been a great game, Brent. Actually, the U.S. jumped out and scored in the first minute. Very unusual for soccer, score that quickly. Trinidad and Tobago hadn't gotten here until this morning, and their coach told me he was afraid that they might not be ready because they couldn't get a workout, and I don't think they were, and they were shocked by this early score. But they got things together, and they came back and scored a very nice goal. Filbert Jones scored for them to tie it up with 27 minutes gone. Ted Hantak was our scorer of the first goal, the young man from St. Louis. He came back and made it 2-0, or 2-1 just before half on a very nice finish.
Well, let's take a look at the action on videotape that Jerry is telling you about. This is how the action unfolded in the opening minute. The United States wearing the white.
Yes, that's Frank Klopas doing a beautiful job of setting up that goal, and Ted Hantak finishing it. Frank Klopas, one of the youngest players on our team from Chicago, did a very nice job on setting up the early goal.
Well, Jerry, let's go out live now and pick up some of the coverage. Let me ask you what it means for the United States team. What do they accomplish if they can get into the medal situation?
Well, for the U.S., we hope to be one of the four that goes on. The U.S. has never received more than a bronze medal. We got that back in '59 when the games were here in the U.S. Trinidad, the same. They've had a bronze, so both teams are shooting for the same. The irony of this game is that through the luck of the draw, the United States and Trinidad and Tobago will face each other September 5th for the Olympic qualification. So they're both getting a taste of what they're going to see a little later.
Well, Jerry, again, I want to remind everybody the United States attacking, wearing the white uniforms. How about the style of play of these two teams?
Well, the U.S. team is a very skillful, but also a very big team. I think there are of the 18 players, 11 of them are over 6 feet, which is very tall when you compare it to Maradona, who's 5'6", the great player from Argentina. I think the Trinidad and Tobago team likes to keep possession. They've done a good job of it. Here's Hantak again on a nice solo run going forward. He's very, very dangerous. But the game so far, Trinidad and Tobago has done a good job of keeping possession. They have a rather young team, and they did score a nice goal on nice build-up. The U.S. has been doing more counterattacking.
Well, Hantak out of St. Louis, he has been our star with 2 goals so far. The United States leading 2-1. And let's quickly check in with swimming. Here's Jim Nance. Jim?
All right, Brent, this is the women's 400-meter individual medley, and we're coming to the end of 200 meters and the backstroke. Ahead right now of the morning split is Tami Bruce of the United States. She is 7 seconds ahead of her time this morning when she won in the preliminaries and moved her teammate Katie Welsh into lane 5. So again, it's the Americans 1-2 here as we're now in the breaststroke portion of this 400-meter medley.
You can see the lead she has there in the middle of your screen. Tami Bruce with a comfortable margin over USA teammate, and nobody else is within 5 seconds of them. In third place now, it's Karen Helmstadt from Canada. But the real race is going to come at the end of the breaststroke. These 2 women have comparable freestyles. Tami Bruce in the lead right now, perhaps a little bit better, more experienced in the distance freestyles. You can see the long underwater breaststroke pole. This is taking up a lot of oxygen on these athletes. And with 2.5 lengths to go, it's still a long race.
So it's Tami Bruce, 20-year-old out of San Diego. She swims for the University of Florida. She is in front in lane 4. And Katie Welch, 16-year-old, now living in St. Louis. Her family lived in Spartanburg but moved to St. Louis 2 years ago. So Katie Welch, lane 5, and currently trailing our leader, Tami Bruce.
Now, you know, Katie Welch probably shouldn't be expected to pass Tami, but she did beat her at the Pan Am trials in Clovis just a week or so ago. Here comes the freestyle. Tami Bruce, by far the better credentialed athlete at this point, going into 2 more lengths.
100 meters to go. Tami Bruce in front, and she should have an excellent chance of winning the gold. She'll be competing later in the week in the 800 free. So this is another strong event for Tami Bruce, a portion of her medley.
Notice her head position, notice her shoulder roll. She's doing everything right. If she was feeling the pain right now, you'd be able to tell that her legs wouldn't be kicking well, and she'd be sort of throwing her arms forward instead of placing them forward. Now look behind her. Here comes Katie Welch swimming right on the lane line, trying to benefit by any drafting available at this point. There really isn't going to be much.
The Pan Am record is held by Tracy Calkins, 4:46.06, and right now Tami Bruce has a chance to set a new Pan Am record.
She's going to have to come home with a very strong 29-second last 50.
She's not going to top the world record of Petra Schneider out of East Germany, but still a chance. Tami Bruce coming in for the gold. She will not get the Pan Am record, but she will win the gold medal. Tami Bruce, 20-year-old out of San Diego, and a silver for Katie Welch, 16 from St. Louis. Second gold medal here in swimming for the United States.
In fact, another gold-silver sweep by the American squad. And Tami Bruce's time here was faster than her time at the Pan Am trials just last week, so she's getting better. It's a personal best time for Tami Bruce.
So Tami Bruce, will be seeing her more here at the Pan Ams. In the 800 freestyle, she has won the gold medal. Katie Welch, the silver, another 1-2 finish for the United States. Let's go back to Brent Musburger.
So a very strong start for the United States, and the star of our diving team, as he has been really for almost the last decade, Greg Louganis, will take off tomorrow and start soaring through the air at about 8 o'clock. And Greg, how long can you stay at the top of the diving world? I'm amazed at the longevity. We see youngsters come in and they take over in all these sports, and you just keep on going.
Well, they're pushing me pretty hard. They keep me on my toes. It's hard to say. I think it's individual, you know, how long you can stay around. And, you know, I still feel good. I feel like I'm getting stronger and getting better.
Does the competitive edge still drive you? What's kept you going, being at the top of the diving world this long?
Well, my coach, Ron O'Brien, keeps my sight on my goals, and he reminds me of that the goals that I've set for myself are pretty big, like breaking 800 on 3-meter springboard and breaking 700 on 10-meter platform, which I've done in the past. I've done it twice. I want to continue doing it consistently.
We want to take a look at you on videotape. I'm wondering, do you go back over your old performances, your great Olympic triumphs, and take a look at them and see how you can improve on certain dives?
Occasionally, I'll look through it. This is reverse 3.5 from the 1984 Olympic Games. It's something that was really a special time for me, because when I hit the water, you enter complete silence. And so it's an eerie feeling, and then you come up and you hear the crowd roaring for you. This is my front 3.5 pike from Olympic Sports Festival, and I received 6 10s and 1 9, and I was really pleased with that.
You know, you really have been like an artist, for those of you who've enjoyed you through the years. Did I read recently that you are now taking up dance, or that you have been doing that and you'd like to go into it, or was that the figment of my imagination someplace?
Actually, I've been dancing longer than I've been diving. I started
Really?
when I was 1.5 years. I was performing on stage when I was 3, singing and dancing. And I will be making my professional dance debut in Indianapolis in October with Dance Kaleidoscope.
So you perhaps have a great future in that ahead of you, too, after you finally give up winning gold medals. Are you going to go in Korea and win some over in Seoul? And
I hope so. I hope to qualify. First things first, got to qualify for the team. So.
That's right. And next thing is tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, right?
Right. Tomorrow evening at 8 o'clock.
Tomorrow evening at 8 o'clock. All right, Greg. Congratulations and good luck. It's been a great career so far.
Thank you very much.
All right. Now, let's take a look at the medley result that we just saw from the natatorium. And again, the United States with a gold medal. Tami Bruce, and the silver to Katie Welsh, and Canada capturing another bronze medal. So we'll continue with our live coverage of the Pan American Games from Indianapolis in just a moment. Of all the athletic competition going on, let's find out what our Pat O'Brien is up to. Pat?
All right, Brent, let me make it clear first, very clear, that this is not a Pan American Games sport. This is what some people do in Indianapolis. In fact, a lot of people do around the country. Just kind of spend their time in the outdoors. This is one of 3 or 4 reservoirs right inside and around Indianapolis, Indiana. This one's called Geist Marina. People come and they water ski, and these people are just sort of out here on the pontoon, having a few burgers, having a good time. Not everybody's involved in the Pan Am Games, but they do have the boats that have televisions they've been watching here inside in the marina there. They have a television going. They've been watching the Pan American Games. So, Brett, don't, how about a bun here? Don't wait for me for dinner, okay, big guy? I'll be out here on the boat. Let's go back to you. I'll see you later.
Tonight on CBS, is that it? Pat, I apologize. I was just checking with the control room to make sure as to what they wanted me to do right now. And first of all, let me get everybody up to date with the various medal counts that we have. As expected, the United States has started very strongly as far as the golds are concerned. We have 11. Cuba with 4. Costa Rica won 1 over in swimming today. Argentina also broke through and won a gold medal today, as did Brazil and Mexico. Now, those are the countries that all won gold medals. The total count for the United States there, of course, 21 medals so far. Now, reminder, next week coming your way on Saturday afternoon, our coverage begins at 1 Eastern time. I was just watching a monitor with the Cuban baseball team. One of their catchers just hit a home run onto the street at Busch Stadium. It is a good 500 feet. He reminded me of Mickey Mantle. You'll see that team in action against the United States baseball team, and our coverage again at 1 o'clock Eastern time, followed by the International Golf Tournament. That will be at 4 Eastern time. So then on Sunday, we will come back at noon Eastern time with our continuing coverage of the Pan American Games. For all of us, I'm Brent Musburger. We hope you've enjoyed our opening weekend. Good night, everybody.
Is sponsored by 3M, worldwide sponsor of the 1988 Olympic Games. Kodak Film, there's no better way to picture your life. Bud Light, everything else is just a light. And by Speed Stick Deodorant, the wide stick gives you the edge. Speed Stick Deodorant by Menon.